What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. It's Cody again. I'm here with my friend Kendra.
Hey.
My friend Jeanna.
Hola.
And my friend Tristan.
What's up?
What's up? And we are here to talk about college life and everything in between. And without further ado, we're going to get started. First topic of the day, relationships.
Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, dear Lord. Yeah, it's fine. And our recent, I guess, always relationship expert, Jeanna.
Oh my God.
I know. Yes, Jeanna. She is going to explain her best and worst relationship moment with Tristan.
Oh. I don't think we have a worst.
You don't have a worst? You will.
No. I mean, we've only been dating for like 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I will say it's the best relationship I've been in. And I've been in like a couple long distance.
Yeah.
Or a long distance. And then my first relationship was like 2 years. So like I have a lot of background, I guess. But this one's the best. Can we high five?
I would agree.
What makes it the best?
I think that the communication. Because I think in relationships, I'm really big on communication. So the fact that we communicate about literally everything helps a lot. So like if I'm kind of sensitive in this stage of my life.
Kendra
She's
nods.
yawning. Sorry. Yeah, I'm really sensitive in this stage of my life just because it's like a changing time and like you need a lot of support in college, I guess. And since you're away from your parents, I can't really get that from them anymore. So you kind of have to branch out and find support from other means. So I think that and like trying to find yourself makes me really sensitive. So I think that he provides a lot of support when I'm feeling like that, you know? So
Is he pretty sensitive as well?
actually, yeah, not to like
Not
yeah.
to.
Not in a bad
to
way.
me,
Right,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Like you can explain it, babe.
So like for me, I'm fairly closed off to most people,
Yeah.
but like one person I do open up with is Jeanna.
yeah. So like he kind of falls into like the role of like not sharing your feelings because he's a guy. Do you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like guys typically do that, but like he finds solace in like his significant other. So like that'd be me. So I just think that helps a lot. And I'm a talker, so I'll talk to anybody. But like the two main people I talk to is Kendra and Tristan because I feel like I don't want to burden anybody else. Because I feel like if you tell other people, they either don't care or they just want to gossip about you.
Yeah.
So like that's why I keep my personal business kind of between these two people, and then like.
Yeah. Well, there's something about having a couple of really tight, you know, friends to where like you don't want to give 40 people the same really deep information because then you're just spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah.
And you're opening up and having a certain level of vulnerability with like 30, 40 people that they probably just don't deserve, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. So that's why I'm really glad that I have these two people, and like our relationship's really good. I'm really happy.
Definitely agree.
Yeah, honestly, probably gonna get married. So
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
put a ring
Tristan,
on
what say you?
Yeah.
I mean, we've already talked about this, but yeah, like we've both agreed. Not yet, obviously.
Yeah, I
It takes
still
a
have to go
bit,
to
but
grad school, but yeah, I don't see us breaking up.
no.
Okay.
And if it were, like, I think we'd get back together like really soon.
Yeah. Neither of us are really like ones to hold grudges or anything.
not at all.
Or be mad at or stay mad at each other if
Yeah.
anything happens.
Yeah,
really
I have
good.
this thing with Kendra too. Like, I don't like going to bed mad, and we're never even mad at each other. No, what do you think?
I'm very like I'm not really aware when it comes to me and like other people's feelings. So whenever there is something wrong, it takes me a while to kind of like notice it.
It does.
It's just because like I've very much been alone most of my life. I've never really confided
Yeah.
in anybody when it comes to these
Yeah.
things, and so I'm so used to it. So I mean, with Jeanna, I can trust her with my feelings and stuff, but sometimes I forget that, like,
Yeah.
because it's just something that I'm so used to not doing. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a new thing too. I've only known her for like
2 years.
like 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
And
We became friends really fast.
yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know. It's so scary.
Yeah.
Just opening up and being vulnerable. I don't know. It's all weird and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's also I don't know. I get scared about it because it's like usually when I do open up with people, like that's when they kind of just like book it.
Right.
They're like peace out.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like what you said. You know, when you basically tell people. Like a lot of people like, oh hey, this is me, and you're stretching yourself too thin, and they don't even deserve that kind of like. But I don't know. I like to say I'm really cold But
Yeah.
I think deep down I'm just really too caring for my own good.
Right.
And then she does it
That's
as a
what it is.
defense mechanism where she's like
Ooh.
like a cloister, a Pokemon. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, she just locks that shit in. So sometimes I have to coax her into
Yeah.
telling me things.
Yeah, because I don't know. The way that I think is really weird. It's
I think we all think that until we realize that we're, I don't know, kind of not all the same people, but we all think in similar ways, but we just can't really articulate it the same way. Because I think a lot of it just comes back down to fear. And you're scared of being known in a way. You're scared of putting yourself out there for fear of judgment because you think anybody's going to look at you and see your fear and see your anxiety and think that's something weak or something to be like belittled. Or like, you know, someone's going to take a giant dump on you because you're now scared of this certain situation, scared of this relationship, or you just don't know what to do.
I
But
also think it comes from people being unpredictable. Because like you don't know like what their intentions are usually. So like
yeah,
it's different, I think, with me. Not to say that I'm different than anybody else, but I feel like I'm always open and honest with my intentions with people. So like if I want to be your friend, I'll say that I want to be your friend and all this stuff. So like when I say it, I mean it. But a lot of people say things that they don't mean. So that's where like I think the fear comes in because people will be like, hey, I want to be with you, and then just fucking just use you. Sorry, mom and dad. And then like leave you there. So I think that that's where it comes from, and being like able to trust people, because people do try and get the upper hand in relationships, sadly. So I think that I like these two relationships because we're equal. Like we understand that we love each other, and like and like where is I going with that? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, yeah, I just know that like one of the big reasons why I'm not very open is because it leaves me in a vulnerable situation, and I attract the worst guys. So
True.
there's just something about me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know if it's something about you or if it's something about guys, not guys in general, but it's just the guys who typically have the most confidence and will ask literally anybody out are the guys who are most willing to take advantage of people. And that confidence is more of a gateway into taking advantage of other people, which is a very, very bad thing. And so a lot of times, I don't know, Tristan, you say you're typically kind of shy
Yeah.
or introverted more so. It's like, it's not that you can't ask somebody out or that you can't open up. It's just you're very selective with who you do, and you have to, you know, start a relationship, start a friendship, establish some trust. But guys who are very comfortable right away, it's because they have other intentions.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so true.
I mean,
Spicy.
yeah, that's kind of how like it started out with this one guy that I just stopped seeing. Oof. Yeah, I don't know. It was just like really weird. Like the way that it started, I didn't think it would end up the way that it did end up. We met on Tinder.
He's
Okay.
a soft boy.
Great. Yeah, he is a soft boy.
He's a soft. Do you know what a soft boy is? Do you know what a soft boy is?
Soft
Podcast
boy.
people.
It's basically when you. It's like it's like the opposite of an F boy.
Yeah.
So they appeal to the girl's emotions to sleep with her, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they just like are like deuces, and so the
Yeah.
girl thinks like, oh hey, this is an actual nice guy, but they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
So, yeah. So it started off like really. I don't know. I thought it was gonna go somewhere for some reason because
Yeah.
I had seen this guy like all year in general, like, and he literally he lives in my apartment complex,
Okay.
3 doors down,
Down.
and
The song or the band.
Yes, that's what we.
yeah,
That's what we think
yeah.
about.
The band is so much better.
True.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
True, babe.
Hashtag 2006.
Yeah.
But yeah, it started off like really innocent and cool. Like he was a cool guy, nice guy. We had the same great taste in music and everything.
Yeah.
Great taste, I say. But I guess I got really comfortable because I could share my music with him without being embarrassed about it, because
Yeah.
I listened to some questionable music, and right off the bat he was very confident in his music taste, and he was like shooting song titles left and right, like, have you heard of this song, have you heard of this song? And I had, so I was like, wow, hey, we like the same music, that's so cool. And so that's how we bonded, basically. Yeah, but then he was just like, you know what, I think you're a really cool girl, but I don't have feelings for you. I like you, but I don't like you.
Right.
We should stop talking. I'm afraid someone's gonna get hurt. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with, so I approached The way that I approached it this time was I kind of closed myself off. I kept him at arm's length. And so I was very I was like this really cool girl, like didn't care whether he was there or not. And I don't know, I feel like that probably got to him in a way.
He was actually really sensitive,
Yeah.
but like not in a good way, like a codependent way.
Yeah, like
So
I
like
don't
when
know.
Kendra couldn't offer like what he needed, I guess.
Well, more like I didn't want to offer it because I don't know. I don't know, I was scared.
Yeah.
I was really scared, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, as much as some of that keeping people at arm's length is a healthy fear, I think it really is it's a good first step because you want to kind of start at that healthy distance, but then like as you trust them a bit more and start opening up and you see that they're not going to take advantage of you, which takes like time and patience, which I think is a hard thing for me personally and for legit everybody because we all want things so very quickly, even if we don't want to admit it, but then we're also so scared in the process, and that fear's going 1,000 miles a second and you're wondering, does this person like me? Does this person have feelings for me? Am I going to get hurt? And things all happen like sometimes too quickly and you do get hurt because either you didn't keep them at arm's length or you kept them too far away. And
Or you just like thought about it too much. I think that's one of the biggest things that ruins relationships. It's just the overthinking in general because of this fear. And you should just not be afraid.
Yeah. I think that happens on both sides in terms of guys and girls because it gets stereotyped as much more of a girl thing. Because I think in like other spheres it can be because Tristan, correct me if I'm wrong, but with most things guys kind of have a one single line of thought. But with relationships, it's very dynamic, and you're trying to manage, how do I love this person well? How do I serve them very well? And how do I treat them, the way that they should be treated? Whereas, like, doing the dishes, it's just, you pour water on it. You don't think about anything.
Yeah, it's very simple-minded whenever it comes to other things. But, like, relationship-wise, I think a lot of the things, like what Jeanna was saying, relationship with us is a lot of communication. So in the past, I've had a lot of problems with overthinking, and like I would tear myself apart if anybody didn't like talk about something because I'm like, oh, well, what did I do wrong?
Right.
Like I immediately start bombarding myself.
And feeling as if somebody doesn't open up to you, that means that you
Shouldn't do it. I don't know.
Right, or that you feel slighted because somebody doesn't open up to you, and that doesn't even mean like in a physical sense. If they don't want to go so and so like distance with you, it's just something's going on. Say like Jeanna was going through something, and then she's just, oh, don't worry about it. Oh, it's fine. Everything's fine. But you can see kind of in her face that it's not fine. You're thinking, what did I do? When really she's kind of maybe like scared in the moment, but knows that with Kendra or whoever else that. Not that she doesn't need you, but she doesn't want to put that on you in a way.
Well, that's a good thing with us is like we don't have that really.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like I'm a very big like, if I see one of my friends or significant other in kind of a down mood, I just want to help them.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not necessarily a very open person to a lot of people. But whenever I see like friends who are down and need something, like I'll try and do my best. So whenever they don't let me in and I can't help them, you just kind of feel a bit useless.
Yeah.
Like, why am I here?
Right, because you want to feel needed.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that I felt as well. And Jeanna's looking at Kendra like, oh my gosh. No, but I've seen not necessarily the fear in you, Jeanna, but in terms of when you see anybody who needs something, even if there's not, a whole lot of relationship there, you jump in.
I
Yes.
do.
What do you call yourself?
A fixer.
A fixer? Walk us through that, girl. What's your mindset?
Okay, so Kendra actually saw this in me. So my parents, they're quite different. So my mom, it stems from my family basically. So my mom, she's very emotional in thinking, and my dad's very logical in thinking. So through the years, they haven't really meshed quite as well as they should have. So I have always found myself being... Have you seen...
Mediator.
The mediator. Have you seen the episode of Family Guy where like Meg's the lightning rod?
I have not.
And the family, okay, y'all need
I'm
to
illiterate.
check that out.
Uncultured.
Check that out. So basically, in Family Guy, you know the premise, right?
Yeah.
So everybody knows the premise where like it's a family show and like blah blah blah. But like they really treat Meg really badly. So like there was an episode where they delved into that and like why Meg's treated so badly. It's because she's the mediator in the family, and if they didn't have Meg, like the family basically would like explode. So it's kind of like that for my family, where like I always have to constantly fix people. And so like it just translated kind of into my relationships, where like I feel the need that like everybody is capable of being a good person, and I really just want to see them grow into like the person they want to be. But I know that life's really hard, and like you can't get through it without other people. So like I try to be there for them even if I don't know them very well, because I know that maybe that might help them in a way. I don't know. It's better than like not helping them. I don't know. It's just weird. I try to fix people.
Good.
Yeah. What do you think, Kendra?
I mean, I think it's a very nice thing to do. But, I mean, you can also get lost in trying to fix other people.
Yeah, she tells me that.
Yeah, I always tell her that you're constantly trying to fix other people, but you neglect to fix yourself sometimes. And also, like, she gets so obsessed with trying to fix other people when sometimes they don't want to be fixed. And it's just like, you can't fix everyone. There are some people who are just so broken that they have to fix themselves.
Yeah.
So that's probably the only downside of it, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I think there's a big illusion in thinking that any of us can really fix ourselves. And I think as much as you might go overboard with it, Jeanna, you understand something fundamentally in that, like, we need each other. You know, you need relationships, not even
Yeah.
necessarily a boyfriend or a girlfriend
Yeah,
or vice
just
versa.
good, wholesome
Just a person.
relationships
Yeah.
that you can talk to. And
Deep,
like,
meaningful friendships, people who
Yes.
can pull you out from
Yes.
wherever you are.
yeah,
and-
because it's easy to get lost in the sauce. That is life, sorry.
No, it's totally good.
Actually, there's a song that I like. I think it's called Too Much Sauce. It's really good.
But
Shout out, find us on Spotify. No, I'm kidding. Don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think relationships are just so fundamentally important, and a lot of people neglect them. Especially in college, you're like trying to party and trying to balance school and balance your mental health and like yourself in relationships. So like you kind of neglect your friendships, I feel. And humans are fundamentally selfish beings, so like you need people. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it?
That's
Yeah.
my take.
Hot take of the day. Well, because you talked about school, and it's interesting, honestly, how little I think about school. That might just be me, but I'm curious
Yeah.
because I hear a lot of people, and just whenever you're in class, you're talking about the assignments, what you've got to do in other classes, just small talk in a way. But in terms of when I'm outside of class and I'm just by myself thinking in the car or at work, I'm never thinking about
You're not?
assignments. No,
Are you going to grad school?
no,
That might be why.
maybe.
So, like, I feel that people who are going to grad school are trying to be, like, doctors and lawyers, because a lot of my friends are.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are like, oh, my God, my GPA. Oh, my God, this class. Like, what class should I take? Like, micromanaging everything.
I'm out. I'm going to grad school, but I don't think about that stuff.
So like, that kind of thing. And, like, it just depends, honestly, on your goals in life and what those numbers can do for you.
Right.
Because it is a system of just, like, numbers, and you do get kind of classified by your numbers. So
What do you
you're trying
think
to make
about
your
that?
number. At a time, like last semester, I thought that I was my GPA. I thought that I had a 3.67. I was like, that's me. I'm a 3.67. Like, I was like, I'm not quite a 4, but I'm not quite a 3. That seems right, you know, like, I'm a 3.67. But, like, this year, I feel like I've been struggling with, like, I'm not a number. Like, and it doesn't need to define me. I mean, yeah, I'm going to be fine with grad school. I'm going to get into a good school. But, like, I just think it's crazy that I'm, like, 21 and I'm worrying so much about that.
Yeah.
And I think it comes a lot from the pressure, not only intrinsically, but extrinsically.
Okay.
So, like, I want to make my parents happy.
Yeah.
I want them to see that I'm doing well, that their money was a good investment, that, like, I can provide for myself and very much provide for them when they're older, because they mean a lot to me. So I want to be able to do that. And so I think that GPA is a number, like, it's part of that goal, like, overall.
Yeah.
So, and I think that the pressure for the GPA comes from myself too, because I really want to do well. I want to prove that I am smart, you know? I'm using air quotes, everybody's smart, because nobody really knows what smart is. You can be good at multiple things and not traditionally books and be classified as
Right.
Be street smart. You can be
Yeah.
book smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like as it comes academically, I've always been pretty good at academics. So like I went through kind of like a crisis after my freshman year. I got like really good grades. I got a 4.0 like both semesters, and then from that it just went downhill.
Yeah.
So like I kind of went on like a little
Binge.
yeah of like, oh my god, what am I doing, like in it. And I find that I'm really hard on myself because of that. So, and I feel like a lot of people are, and they don't need to be, but you do have to play the game, unfortunately, because you can't really do anything to change it right now. So you just got to play the game and then try to make it better for people and younger generations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really big, and I think people, maybe more so than the GPA even, because people that aren't going to grad school, I think because there's, 20,000 engineers here that are looking to get that starting salary in those
Yeah.
60s, 70s,
Yeah.
$80,000 a year. So you're kind of fighting for that GPA in the
Yeah.
sense that you have competition within your class or your major, but everybody's looking at, man, how much money can I make starting off, as opposed to kind of, just finding a place that you like, finding a place that you love or that you want to work at, and that like you can make $80,000 a year like first year and then be miserable,
Yeah.
and that's the opposite of what I want.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
just kind of when you have to, like, people need to evaluate their lives more. I feel like they're just always chasing the bag. So, like, I feel like you can totally get lost trying to get, like, that comfortableness when you really just want happiness, And people think that money will bring the happiness, but it obviously won't. A lot of people can be cited for that. LOL. Hashtag celebrities. So,
Yeah.
I was going to say something about the GPA, but I forgot, but it's whatever.
Tristan, you look like you had something to say off that.
Oh, I guess this kind of ties in something that we were talking about earlier. So it brought up, like in my memory, a song from Logic.
Yeah. Let's go, Rat Pack.
So Legacy, it was like more so talking about how he did all this stuff to get money and like help his family, and then his wife leaves him,
Yeah.
and
Oh, that
it's
happened.
like,
I forgot about that. No, yeah.
well, in this particular
In the
song,
song.
like they had kids together, they had a family and all this. Well, he's working so much, he's not there. So it's like whenever you have the money, sure, like it's great, and you're providing for your family, but you aren't actually there.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people look at that and they're like, oh yeah, I want all this money so I can do all this. But you have to think about it, like whenever you're making that much money, you don't necessarily have the time to do anything. You're trading in your time for the money, but then what do you have to show for it other than the money? Like you don't have the happiness that you thought you would, because life isn't just about having the money, it's about like the experiences. And you don't necessarily need a bunch of money to like go and experience things. You just have to get out there and try things out and figure things out without all of that. So yeah, it's just, I feel, because I'm not even in college right now. I went straight to military right after high school. So I'm like sitting here and everybody else here is in college, and I'm just like, I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going and all that.
So are we.
Yeah. And it's the thing of like, sure, I'm not going to school right now, but I'm working a job, I'm figuring out where I want to go as the years go by and stuff. But I don't think it's too like important to just focus on money. If I'm doing something I enjoy,
Yeah.
and I'm making like a quarter of what I could be making doing something else that I wouldn't really enjoy, I would still be living a better life, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that also takes, a good relationships, especially with y'all, and I'm not going to like pry all about it, but I know a couple of people just, pairing off when people decide to get married, they don't quite think about whether or not their work ethics are going to match up, or their expectations for post-marriage when they both have careers, or maybe they want kids, and what's the expectation when you have kids? Are y'all going to stay home? Who's going to stay home? Is anybody going to stay home? Is this going to be something that is going to take so much time away from each other, and we're both going to pursue our own individual passions? Like, what expectations are we going to have to set? Because it's not as if you have to, family's fantastic, and it might sound selfish to not want a family, you know, but I mean, I think some people just aren't not meant to have kids, but just don't have kids and lead very fulfilling lives, and there's nothing wrong or inherently
Yeah.
selfish about that. It's just, I mean, you're living the life the way you know, can live it and want to live it, and as long as you're treating other people well in the process and you're not blowing other people off, you're still loving each other and serving each other, then that's great. And you know, if you are happy and you can find contentment and peace in that, while at the same time not having to put other people down, you know, because a lot of times, I don't know if a lot of times I haven't been in business, but like you hear stories in business about people who work so hard to get so far, and if, you know, for one guy to go up the ladder, they have to push another guy down, and
Cutthroat.
yeah, what's that doing? You know, who do you have to become to get to where you are? So it's not only, you know, getting somewhere, but can you maintain yourself and your identity and your resolve and your code of ethics while you do whatever it is that you do and enjoy it?
I just preach everything in moderation. I've told y'all, I think I've told everybody this before, that like moderation is key in life. I think it's one of my philosophies. LOL, hit me up in my book. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it is one of my philosophies where like you need everything in moderation. So not too much of anything to spoil it. So like too much money, not good. Too much like sadness, not good. I don't know, like just like too many, I don't know. Do y'all make sense? Does that make sense? Like everything in moderation, at least the bad things in moderation. So
What are the bad things?
probably really bad relationships. That's one of the worst, I think, in my opinion, because I'm really big on relationships.
Yeah.
Too much money, that's not good.
How can you, like, moderate? How can you keep track of, like, bad relationships if they just happen?
Oh, no. I mean, like, staying in one. That would be really, really bad.
But then what if you don't have the strength to get out of it?
Hopefully you would.
What if
But that's
you
what I'm
don't?
saying. That's like a recipe for happiness. If you're in a bad relationship for a while, like, and it's not in moderation, like, it can possibly destroy your happiness.
I'm just thinking, like,
Yeah.
in terms of, there's people out there who find happiness in their bad relationships, even if it's a really bad relationship.
Hold on a second.
Well, like I have a friend and she cannot be by herself. Even if it's a bad relationship, she'd rather be in a bad relationship than be alone.
So sad.
It's like my tia. She.
I don't think that's happiness, though.
Why do you think that is, Tristan?
You know, I think that, so for me, I personally, I would much rather be alone than be in a relationship where I don't feel like I can truly like open up to the person. Because for me, I'm an introvert, so like being around other people, it just drains me, especially if I don't want to be around them.
Yeah.
You know, but she's a bit opposite. So for her in particular, she kind of seeks that out so that she doesn't feel alone, even if the relationship's not that great. She kept going back to the same ex and stuff, and it's like, well, yeah, I don't like to see a friend doing that. I can kind of understand because she just feels like she needs that to be happy. You know, it's almost, I wouldn't say it's like an addiction, but
I'd say it is.
yeah, it can be. I think it has correlations, definitely.
Yeah. And what's been interesting for me, because I tend to look way back at like middle school, high school me way too much for my liking. But I think, and not to psychoanalyze everything here, a lot of who we are now can still be traced back to, okay, what were your relationships like in middle school and high school? You know, not did you start dating early, but did you have, you know, good friends early on? Did you have friends who, you know, you could trust, that you could not open up your whole life to, but that you felt comfortable talking around? Even if you're introverted, you know, were you comfortable with yourself? Did you have the confidence to at least be yourself, you know, and having that confidence early and training that confidence, you know, 7th grade, 8th grade, you know, freshman year in high school, when you're the most vulnerable in adolescence and you're figuring out your body, your emotions, everything's changing, your voice is dropping, everything else is dropping. Like, I mean, if you're a guy, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. This one time, my tia was like, "Oh my God, your voice just keeps getting deeper and deeper. That's not supposed to happen." And I was like, "You know what, woman? I don't want your shrill voice, so I'm happy."
Yeah.
I literally noticed the day that my voice dropped. I was like, is that my voice? Like from the Emperor's New Groove. I was like, oh my gosh.
My voice gets deeper at night.
Yeah, when it's raspy. You're like, hey.
I know, I sound like a dude.
I always thought that my voice was deep, but apparently it's not. Y'all tell me that all the
This
time.
one time I was online on like headset, and this one guy was like, "You a boy or a girl?" And I was like, "I'm a girl." And they're like, "Oh, you sound like a middle school little boy." And I was like, "Well, I'm a high school girl, so." But yeah, no, I just feel like sometimes you can't really control when it comes to bad relationships because
No, definitely.
like like branching off of what going back and figuring out those relationships, I also think it has a lot to do with the way that you're raised.
Yeah.
Because if you're raised in a bad environment, that's all that you really know.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's a significant number of years, too, of your life.
Yeah.
Typically.
And
And
it's
it's the formative years too.
Yeah.
so
it's like really hard to change too. Just I don't know, and it's kind of like it was a conversation that I was having earlier, but it's like basically this one family was raised on not showing any physical love whatsoever, and so whenever it does happen, it's really strange, and that means it signifies something has happened, like a bad thing has happened, and so it gets everybody worried when it really shouldn't be that way. Like it should be the opposite, but like this person being raised like that, it's affected the way that he has raised his own children, and then the way that he's raised his own children, it's affected them as well. And it just like, if that's all you've ever known, it's kind of hard to dictate what happiness is. And like, if you're in a bad relationship, well, if all you've ever known is bad relationships, then I mean, how can you know it's a bad relationship?
yeah.
That's really sad.
I know, but it happens. That stuff exists.
That's why you find a fixer. No, I'm kidding.
Well, but then there you go. Like, what if your significant other, who is a bad person, what if you think them as a fixer?
Well, hopefully you would have. This is where friends play in. Like I've always been a strong believer of like your friends need to like evaluate your significant other too, and like hold them at a high standard for you because they've known you longer, obviously, and like
But what if?
all your friends suck ass.
No, no, I was saying, but like, I mean, what if this I don't know. Sometimes I think like, oh, well, what do you know? You don't know me, or the only person who really knows me is myself, right? Or like, well, you're just an outsider looking in. You don't know what's actually going on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there could be that.
Yeah, but I feel like there is some merit in being an outsider looking in because when you are too close to the situation, you kind of get muddled.
Yeah, like there's certain things that, you know, I'll do that my friends will point out and I'm like, oh really? Like I didn't even notice I was doing that. And it's
Yeah.
like something that I don't notice because it's an everyday thing to me.
Yeah.
Or like what Jeanna was saying, if you're in a relationship with somebody, sometimes there's certain things that, you know, you two might handle a certain situation differently than what other people would. And like people aren't going to see it the same just because everybody has like different standards of how things should be.
But I think when
You
it
know.
comes to that, it's kind of like a pattern. Like if there's multiple like red flags, I guess, then there's something wrong. Like if you like argue in a weird way, that's not like a big deal. But if you like argue in a weird way, plus like he insults you a lot, or like she comments on his appearance way too much for their comfort, like it just tells of a lot of underlying issues that people in the relationship might not pick up on. They're just like, oh, that's just like how we fight. But like,
Yeah.
if you're like that now, like down the road, it's gonna be a lot worse, I feel.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think I wouldn't say sane because I'm kind of insane, but like, I think most people realize that when you're around your significant other and their friends, there's a certain level of performance. You know, there's a certain level of inherent performance when you're around your significant other in those early stages because you're just kind of testing the waters and
Yeah.
like finding that level of vulnerability that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And if you can't even keep up a remote performance of sanity around their friends and they can like take that off really, really quick, then yeah, you need to work on yourself a little bit before
Yeah.
you're ready to, you know, take care of somebody in a relationship and love them.
Yeah,
You know?
I agree.
And that doesn't even mean that you're an awful person. It just means, hey, you've got some stuff to work on. We all do, you know.
Self-reflection.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, like I don't know. For me, meeting like Kendra or, you know, some of your other friends. Kendra's the main one, of course, but
No, I live with you also. Kind of have to
like-
see me.
yeah. But no,
Unless I close myself off in my room, which is what I do all the time. But continue.
But no, like for me, yeah, I have a good relationship with Jeanna. But Kendra's been there longer than I've been in Jeanna's life.
Yeah.
So it's like, she's my friend now. And at the time it was like, well, I'm trying to manage several relationships because it's not just about Jeanna and I. Like, it's about her family, you know, her friends. Because I don't want to take away from, like, their relationship.
Right.
I don't want to be toxic and pull her out of, like, what is already making her happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because if anything, I'm the toxic one because I kind of push y'all together and I pull myself out. I'm like, all right, y'all do your thing. I'm just gonna be over here.
You're like that mom in Mean Girls. Y'all need anything, condoms?
No, that is not what I mean.
That's not, but that's what
It
it
is
reminded me
not.
of.
It's more like, oh, you guys are here. Okay, you can watch a movie. I'm gonna be in my room.
But like
Yeah.
at the same time, I feel like we include you a lot, or I try to, because I'm like, I want to hang out with you, ho.
I'm just really awkward when it comes to third wheeling.
Yeah.
Obviously,
But hopefully you're not third wheeling too hard.
I kind of am.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to happen no matter...
It's not
happens
a
no
bad
matter-
thing. It's not a bad thing, but I mean, you guys are together,
Yeah.
so
We'll just be friends.
You
No,
can
I
third wheel
agree.
in friendships too.
Yeah,
definitely.
I
so
used to do.
true.
Oh my
Megan
god,
and
that
Jacqueline.
was.
I felt
Oh.
like I third wheeled with them sometimes. Sorry, guys.
I was thinking about my my first friendship with my roommate freshman year. I was third wheeling in that friendship so bad, like it was really bad. There was a sidewalk big enough for 3 people, and they pushed me to the back, so it was really bad. Yeah, that was just a really bad friendship. I'm glad I'm not in it.
Glad I adopted you as an extrovert.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. I just saw good in you. I'm really good at, I think, at judging characters. So,
How do you judge character?
oh, damn it. Well, first of all, you can't be self-absorbed.
Okay.
That's like, I think, one of the biggest ones that I think about, because I'm like, you'll just drain me, because I'm really big at like giving myself in a relationship. So
How
if
can you
you're-
tell if somebody's self-absorbed?
if they talk about themselves way too much?
Okay.
If they talk about nothing but themselves, then you're
Yo,
very
man, that's
self-absorbed.
me through and through.
That's not true.
Narcissist right here.
So
Hey.
yeah, if you're like self-absorbed, that's something that's like a red flag for me, because I don't think that I can handle that, because it will definitely drain me. I don't know. Like, it's something you have to feel, I think. Like, you know how you have to trust your instincts and be like, that's a good person. That's a good being. Because, like, I know when somebody's not, and I know when somebody is. It's just, like, a thing. And I think it's also the vibing together. Like, you know that when you vibe with somebody and when you don't. Like, it's like a puzzle piece clicking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make
Well,
sense?
because, like, not everybody is a bad person.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
There's some good people
No.
who you just don't click with.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
you just don't, like, different
Yeah.
interests, you know,
Yeah.
different ways of thinking. But that doesn't mean they're a bad person.
Yeah.
I
It's
agree
just-
with that.
Oof.
What?
No, I was just thinking about Victoria. Shout out to you, Victoria.
Flashbacks.
Hope you're doing well. She's my childhood friend. I knew her for 8 years. Took me 8 years to realize that
She was toxic.
she was not the person for me, basically. Like, she was, I don't know, we were really different. But she just, I don't know. So just the way that the friendship ended, she's very, like, obsessed with her looks. And I called her shallow, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because I think that we're all shallow in a way.
Yeah.
But she took it to a
Proportional,
really
astronomical.
personal like way, and she wanted me to apologize for it, but it was a really bad time. And I didn't want to apologize for saying the truth, and I didn't even mean it in a bad way either. To give context, she called a South Korean plus size model disgusting because she was promoting obesity. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, just because you are so concerned about your weight doesn't mean you need to be so shallow. And then that's when it blew up.
But she had a lot of issues with herself.
Yeah.
Like her self-esteem, and
she
she was a very bad friend.
Yeah. Well, maybe not even getting into like the personal details of it, but like just seeing how.
Yeah.
And this is something I wanted to hit on earlier while y'all were talking, because it seems that whenever we take criticism from somebody, you know, whether that's a close friend or, you know, someone who's a little bit further away, the more it hits home for us, we can take it one of two ways. We could either, you know, do what Tristan, as you said, just kind of be like, oh man, you're right, because you trust these people enough to take their advice. Or you can be more concerned about the thing than what your friend is saying, you know, literally being conceited and thinking more about your own ego than what your friends are trying to do to help you. And then you just push further and further away.
That
you know,
is
Yeah.
me. It's like when I got sometimes. Oh my gosh, I get offended for every little criticism that I get because I'm super egotistical. But yeah, so like this one time, somebody corrected my Spanish even though it was correct, and I got super offended.
Was that-
Yes, it was. I was so offended. It was just. I don't even remember what the word was.
I don't either.
But it was this person who they're not a native Spanish speaker.
Not at all.
And they corrected me, and I was like, excuse me, number one, you are wrong. I am correct. Number two, you're not even a native speaker. What do you know? I was so offended. But yeah.
Go into that story.
I know. But yeah, that's probably, yeah.
You're getting
because-
better though.
At what?
There's a
Taking criticism or speaking
Yeah.
Spanish?
both. You're getting better at both. You're a healthy little being.
Yeah, because criticism is probably one of the hardest things that I process/handle. Especially, so like back in high school, I had a really big problem with it because I was like, that's when I was starting to really focus on what I'm very passionate about, which is my art. And I went to a art magnet, and my professor is this like very well-known artist, like in the border region of Texas. He's a really well-known artist there, so he knows his stuff. Went to the Art Institute of Chicago, something like that. He went to a really big school in Chicago, and well, I started off, as probably most people do, with trying to draw people, and then it eventually developed into like trying to draw anime, which he didn't very like because he didn't think it was a form of art.
Right.
But basically just because it's just so overdone. So he didn't find any uniqueness in it, and his main goal was to find a unique style within me,
Right.
like to project into my art. But then, so constantly throughout all of high school, he was criticizing my art, and I would take it so personally because it's something that it's been something I've been trying to teach myself to do since like I was really small, because I'm not really good at anything else. Honestly, I have nothing to back myself on but my art, and even then, it's failing. But at the time, it wasn't. And so, like every time he would tell me, like, I don't like this. This is where you messed up. I would always fire back. Well, art is subjective. How could you know what's right and what's wrong? And oh my God, I would fight with my teacher so much. This one point, he called me chiflada, which is like spoiled. And then, yeah, it was just hard. It was really hard. But then, like the older I got, or more, not really the older I got actually, like I graduated and I realized, man, I probably shouldn't have been so hard when it came to like hard at receiving criticism, because in the end, he really is just trying to help. And I probably shouldn't have taken it so like personally.
Right.
Especially because I am an artist, I should be able to take criticism from like negative criticism or positive criticism, because I mean, but yeah, I think, yeah, because it's just so personal to me, art, it's what really,
Yeah.
really,
And it's walking that fine line as well, because if it was just that one teacher, sometimes you just gotta say, well, forget you, bud. You know, and if he doesn't have that personal relationship with you and he doesn't agree with your goals, cool, he can have his opinion, but at the end of the day, you know, you're doing what you love, you're following your passion, and you're getting better at what you love, and so there's no shame in that. It's not like you're lazy and not trying or not doing anything, you know. There's something to be said about just not following through on stuff. But I mean, if it's one guy,
yeah, no, like, he was very like he really wanted to like push me to be a better me, but I was just like resisting the whole time. I mean, he had really good intentions. He's a cool guy. He's an amazing artist. He's an amazing mentor. It just took me a while to realize that, because, I mean,
I'm from Laredo, so nobody really knows about anything when it comes to humanities. So yeah, I draw, but people are gonna be like, oh my god, like it's so good, you draw. And it's like, yeah, but he who actually knows what he's doing, he's like, no, dude, like people can tell you you're good. That doesn't mean that you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. And well, I mean, I'm in high school and my ego is already really big because people are telling me I'm super good at art. And I had only been drawing for like 4 years. So I'm like, whatever, you peasants. Like, yeah, I'm good at art. And so that's why I think I just took it so hard. Because, I mean, who are you to tell me I'm not good? And in the end, I actually was like terrible. Oh my God, looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so dumb. This is so bad. But
I think it also spoke to your maturity at that time, though, because you were young. I mean, when you're young, you don't want to listen to anybody. I mean, I know when I was younger.
yeah, I was very angsty.
Yeah, I know when I was younger, my parents would be, like, telling me stuff, and I'd be like, whatever. Like, you don't understand, like, all the angsty teens. And then my mom would always be like, when you're older, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, thanks, Mom and Dad. So, like, I am older now. Not that old, but, like, 21, 22. So, like, I'm looking back and I'm, like, so grateful that, like, I wasn't that big of a brat.
No, I was a huge brat.
And that, like, they raised me the way that they did because I'm very open and free at thinking. And I don't know. They're great parents. Jeanna's parents are very important to her, is what we're learning.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me because you spoke about art, and I think I see it a lot in athletes, for one, because I coach now. And
You do.
it's very easy to stereotype the guys this way because I see it a lot more with the guys, but they have what I call like the ESPN effect, where they see the highlight reels of these guys. You know, I don't care if it's basketball, tennis, football, baseball. You got the highlight reels, those 30 seconds, and everybody's living for those 30 seconds. And if you can get that one 30-second clip, then the other 2 hours of practice don't matter because you hit that one shot or you got that one bucket, you know? And it's so frustrating to me because, and I think all coaches, because how you win is consistency. You know, that one highlight reel is literally the cream of the crop. And you'll have guys who make highlight reels who don't win the match. It was just a really good shot in the middle of it. And so just one doesn't exactly necessitate the other. And so a lot of, being able to correct that mentality, it takes a long time for one because guys have to learn they're not quite as good as they think they are, Whereas girls, I think it's typically the opposite. At least the girls that I've like played with and like coached, they never understand how good they are. Like just about never understand just how usually like athletic they are or strong they are or fast they are.
I can totally see that being the case.
And so when I ask them to run, they think I'm punishing them, but I'm trying to show them, just how fast they are. And it takes running to realize that you can learn how to run or that you already know how to run, because it's not as if you have to train 6 months to learn how to run an 8-minute mile. You can start, at 12 minutes, at 15 minutes, at 16 minutes or whatever. You could walk the thing, but you can be so much better than you think you are. I was actually training one of my players yesterday, and I made her run a mile because it was postseason, and she was like, I'm going to do this in 20 minutes. It's going to be awful. I'm going to walk it. And then she did it, and she was, she was kind of half walking, half jogging, doing whatever, and she hated me all the time. Absolutely hated me, but like she'll come back, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then she got done with a mile, didn't do this like big performance drama thing, but just kind of sat down, was clearly tired, drank a bunch of water. I asked her like, hey, how fast do you think that was? She's like, 20 minutes. I'm like, nope. She's like, 25. I'm like, nope. She's like, 30. I'm like, nope. 15. Nope. And then I showed her the clock. It's like 11:30, which isn't the fastest in the world, But
But
it's
for an off season, I feel like that's pretty
13-minute
good.
mile.
right. Yeah, but
Mine's
that's a
an
starting
11.
point for sure. And it's just again showing you.
Yeah.
I mean, do this even once a week for the next month or so, or the next 2 or 3 months.
It'll only get better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you're finding that balance point of confidence and humility, knowing that you have this potential, but also knowing that there are other people around you who you have to respect, who also have been given a lot to work with, Because that's the other thing is even if you're good, I don't care how good you are. If you can't respect that the other person has put in hours of time and dedication into their craft, with it, if it's art, if it's athletics,
Yeah.
if you can't look at a painting or look at somebody else's game and say, man, they've actually worked hard at this too, they deserve some appreciation and respect, then that's a big no for me,
Yeah, definitely.
You want to, yeah. I was just going to, because my art teacher would do the same thing. Like I had to draw the same thing for a week. and it was so annoying, and I hated him for it. But he was telling me, I mean, you're not confident enough to actually draw it. That's why I'm telling you to do it over and over and over, so that way you can just do it without having to think about it. So
He sounded like a good teacher.
he was an amazing teacher.
You were just being a little
Mr.
fun.
Rocha, I love you. I'm sorry I was chiflada. But yeah, he taught me a lot. He just basically, one of his big things is practice. Practice. That's it. Like, you just need to put hours into your craft. That is how you make it. It's not none of this. Like, it's like what you said. I don't care how good you are. If you're not putting in the work, what does it matter?
Yeah.
That was his thing.
Yeah, like you can be a natural. You can have somebody who's a natural at something, like whether it be sports or art. But you can also have somebody who was not good at it, the same thing at the very beginning, but they put so much work into it and effort that they end up being better than the person who was just naturally good at it. Because the person who's naturally good at it's
my
like,
God.
oh, I'm so good, I don't need to do this. Like,
The tortoise and the hare. Bam, 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 bam.
I was just thinking in
It's like-
terms of me, like I knew this one kid. He was my arch nemesis in elementary school because we were both like, I don't know. He was just, I really disliked this kid, and I was always trying to beat him. And like when it came to like the science fair, he would always win, and oh my God, it made me so angry because I knew he wasn't doing any of the projects. It was his mom, and I was out there.
Doing it actually.
I was making light with crystals. I was collecting bird nests and doing all of these different things. Like, ugh, he irked me so much. And one of the biggest things that irked me the most was the fact that he was naturally good at art. And I made a decision, going into sixth grade, I made the decision that I was gonna get so much better than him at art, it was gonna be unreal. Because I had never drawn once in my life. I couldn't draw for anything. So when I first started out, it was like so frustrating to me because he was already born with natural talent and I had to learn. It took me, how many years is that? Wait, 6. 8 years to learn how to draw decently, and it just happened to be better than him. Like, my art teacher in high school was like, yeah, you're way better than this kid, and I'm like, that's all I've ever wanted to hear in my life.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, like, yeah.
Well, yeah, you have that, and then like, so something I was going to touch on earlier. You said, walking a fine line between like taking criticism well and then like just blowing it off.
Right.
Well, like, I think if you are one of the egotistical people, and
If you're the Kanye West of the universe.
yes, exactly. Like if you take that criticism and you're just like, I don't need you. Like, I mean, obviously that's not going to work too well. But if you think you're good at something, like what she was saying, like with her teacher, if she was getting put down, thinking, oh, well, I'm not. Like if somebody was to say, oh, I'm not as good as what I thought, and like they put themselves down so much to a point where it's also negatively affecting them, like that's not good either.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was walking a line. So I think one of the biggest things is just trying to stay humble about stuff,
Yeah.
It's like, you don't want to be too hard on yourself. Like people are going to give you compliments on stuff if you're doing the time and effort and all that.
Yeah.
But I think no matter what, it's like just try and stay humble, just because there will always be somebody
Right.
who can show you something that you don't know.
But also, yeah, there's always room to improve.
Yeah, and there's also going to be other people who you can show something. But if you're too much of like an arrogant person and you're like, oh, I'm better than you, like that's not helping either.
Yeah.
So it's like picking up other people along with yourself, but also learning from them.
Yeah.
I think is a very important thing, no matter what it is.
For sure. Knowing that you can learn from anybody, bro, is really, really big. I just had this coach for health, but he was one of the football coaches. I didn't play football. And he kind of explained, I don't even know what the class topic was, but he would just bring football into the classroom because he was that kind of coach. He was awesome. And he's a little bit crazy too, which is why I love him. And he was talking about balancing that humility and that confidence. And he says that the football team has a regular weekly schedule. And, they tell the kids about this, or, eventually they just kind of figure it out that, Friday night you have the game, Saturday you rest, Sunday, at least the coaches do film, and maybe the seniors do film, but not the JV and anybody else. But Monday morning for everybody, it's not tearing them down emotionally, but completely breaking down to bare bones basics, everything that they do, and kind of humiliating them in that way and saying that, like, listen, you're not too good for this really, really basic drill. Mm-hmm. You're not too good for this really like fifth grade level, run of a ball, or this fifth grade level route. Like, we're gonna run these routes so well that we can't get it wrong. And you're gonna, kind of break them down Monday, so that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you keep adding on the building blocks and giving them, as they show you that they can excel in this one area, you give them this other area to work with and this other area to work with. And so you constantly remind them, hey, almost remember your roots in a way. Like, you're never too good for this one thing. You're never too good to go run. You're never too good to go stretch. That's a big one. Like, you're never too good to go, just encourage your teammates in that way. Mm. But then, as you show that you have the humility and the mindset to do good by yourself and by other people, then, come Wednesday, Thursday, and especially Friday, the coaches would make a huge effort to encourage them. And when they see good behavior, or even just adequate behavior, they almost patronize them. They over encourage them, so that it gives them that confidence to know that, like, yes, you're so good, you're so good, you're so good. Like, and the way football coaches yell is probably, it can be the most, awful at times, because it's just the volume of it. But that volume of encouragement, when it's a positive thing as opposed to a negative thing, is probably the most uplifting kind of encouragement that you can receive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Of course, mine wasn't so much sports as it was the military. Like, Marine Corps and boot camp, you were nobody. Mm-hmm. You don't get to say I, me, any of that. Like, it's this recruit, and they tear you down so much. Like, you don't matter, basically. Like, that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. But it's all just to build you back up into what they need you to be, so that you're stronger, and like that you can do everything that they require of you. I mean, like you were saying, football coaches or different whatever coach, sports wise, they will like antagonize kind of, and put you down on certain things, but it's not like necessarily just to make you feel bad about it.
Right.
Like, it's to make you better.
It's like reverse psychology.
Yeah. Like, so I think for me, that was the biggest thing was, my drill instructors are saying so much to me every single day. Yeah. Like, I'm not even the one who messed something up, and I get singled out. Or somebody else messes up, and we all get screwed over while they sit there and watch us. Yeah. And it's like, it's, you embrace the suck, and like you just kind of deal with it. But then I remember sitting down with one of my drill instructors one day, and he's like, all right, you guys did a good job, like, we'll take a little bit of a break today and like just kind of talk about stuff, like how's things going. And like he snuck into the senior drill instructor's office and got us candy and stuff. And I was like, what? What is going on?
You're like, am I
is this
dying?
a trap?
Yeah.
Like, but no, it's nice to have that sort of relationship with mentors and stuff like that,
Yeah, that's really big. I took a couple of kines/coaching classes before I switched majors, and one of them was more kind of guest seminar in a way. And so they would bring in all these guys who were coaches at different levels or professions and stuff like that, and kind of give speeches about what they did or what they learned. And one of them was Gary Kubiak, who used to play, I think, for A&M, but then went on to be the quarterbacks coach for the Denver Broncos while Peyton Manning was there. And I think he'd been around, but basically when they transferred him to Denver, he's working with Peyton, he's working with whoever his backup is at the time. I think it was Osweiler. And he's kind of the new guy, and everybody's grown. They're adults. It's not like there's any particular hazing that goes on. Yeah. But there was one team meeting where just after a game, things had gone badly, and it wasn't even Peyton's fault. It wasn't the quarterback's fault, but the head coach, whoever he was at the time, singled out Kubiak and said, we have a standard for the quarterback position, and you are not fulfilling that. And he chewed him out for, probably with more choice words than that, but just, chewed out the coach for the quarterback. But then, head coach leaves the room, and everybody else around him circles up and says, hey, man, that was rough. And, are you good? Are you okay? You're fine. And he says, yeah. And it was just kind of weird. But then Kubiak sees the head coach later, and it's still kind of shook up about it, but he's smiling. And the head coach is like, welcome to the Denver Broncos. So he personally put himself as the head coach kind of on the back burner, made himself look stupid for the sake of building that camaraderie around the new coach or that new guy, saying, I'm going to make myself look like a total butt so that everybody loves and respects you because you didn't deserve that, and he knows that. So it's a little bit manipulative, a little bit weird and scary. Not sure I'd be the guy to try it, but
Yikes.
it was freaking genius.
That is actually wow.
Yeah.
That would give me trust issues though. I'd be like,
Yeah. It's one of those things that you feel like it should come out of a movie.
Yeah.
They cut to that next scene and it's like,
Yeah.
welcome to the Denver Broncos.
And then the movie starts. Or ends.
or I would
Yeah.
say not even.
No, you can totally have it start.
Yeah.
But how would it end?
I don't know, maybe they'd have to go to like the Super Bowl. And he like took them there.
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they won the Super Bowl while he was still there, but they won it recently because Peyton got it.
Yeah.
Good for Peyton. Let's go. Nice. But have we rounded off that topic well enough? Anything that anybody else wanted to say? Nice. Because I know all of y'all were pretty interested before we, went live about mental health in college, which I was super excited about because that's one of the things that just for me, I love talking about with people because, just that topic, one of the main solutions is discussion. It's not one of those things that's so far out there that it's so intangible and we can't touch it, we can't see it. We can literally talk through a lot of things with mental health and see, man, where can we get better with this? How can we have very practical results here? And I was wondering, maybe, does anybody feel comfortable starting in terms of just what maybe is your personal experience with it? Why are you so passionate about it? If you've had friends yourself that go through, anxiety, depression, what's going on in the world of mental health? I know. It's always hard to start.
Heavy
It's like-
topic.
Yeah, it's
I don't know. There's so much I feel like
Love
that
that.
you can unpack on that specific subject. Like I have a lot of stories about that, especially growing up. I think it also has a lot to do with how society sees it, and it's getting better. It's still nowhere near perfect, but I think as the years have gone by and like as I've kind of grown up a bit, it's not as like I guess taboo, to talk about it. Of course, because we grew up in all of us were all around the same age, so we all grew up like seeing it as kind of being like a bad thing to talk about, like, oh, we don't want to talk about this or different stuff. And I think that still kind of plays into how we do view things today.
Yeah.
Even if it is changing, like we still hold memories from whenever we were younger.
right.
And it still affects how we think now. But like for me, I don't know, I've dealt with like depression, anxiety, like all of that. And, I went through my whole thing of self-harm, everything, and it's like, I don't know, everybody kind of deals with it differently,
Yeah.
but you can all sort of relate to each other because there's a lot of similarities, whether it be just having like anxiety or even like if you can have anxiety and not have depression, like some people do. It's just like, being in big crowds. Somebody with anxiety can still relate to somebody who, is bipolar
Yeah.
in certain ways. Like I work at a mental hospital. They don't all have the same thing.
Yeah.
Some of it's from drugs that have messed up their brains, Some of it is from like schizophrenia or whatever it may be. And they all kind of can relate to each other, though. So I think that's why talking through things is a lot more healthy than just bottling it up. It seems like, oh, I don't want to talk to people about all of this because, you know, it's personal. And yeah, like, it's difficult to open up about at first. But I think if you get around other people who kind of have been through the same sort of stuff and don't judge you on that, then it helps so much. Like, a lot of my good friends have ended up being other people who went through the same stuff. Not necessarily by, like, on purpose necessarily, but just that's just how it happened to be. Because I could open up with them and we could talk about that. So it's like you don't have to worry as much.
That's really, really big. And I think, I don't know, I have limited experience with it in that I've never been diagnosed with anything, you know? And so it's always been very hard for me to not empathize, but to feel as if I'm empathetic, you know, because you want to be the person who understands when you feel distant and when you feel as if you don't understand something, but you're still trying to help somebody, you fundamentally know that there's a disconnect. And I'm constantly trying to fight that disconnect in terms of, man, can I say anything that's going to be effective for this person? Can I say anything that this person like needs to hear or wants to hear? Like, am I even valuable in the situation because I don't understand what they're going through?
Yeah.
You know, so that's a big thing for me.
That was, so one of the things with working in the state hospital, in training, they tell you, like, don't tell them you understand.
Yeah.
They say don't use that word.
Right.
Like, because you don't fully understand. You can relate and you can kind of sympathize, you know, and to a certain extent you can help them. Sometimes what people need, though, is just to have somebody to talk to. You don't have to say a word. You could just sit there and listen, and that will do so much for people.
Yeah.
But like, some of the people will get angry if you're like, oh, I understand, and they're like, no, you don't. You simply don't. How do you know what I deal with?
Right.
You know? And I mean, most of them won't be like that.
Yeah.
They get what you're trying to like say, but it's, I don't know, I thought that was something that was just really interesting to me whenever I first started working out there. It's like, just simple wording can completely change how somebody reacts. But
Kendra looked like she had something she wanted to say earlier.
Well, so I'm Mexican, so mental illness doesn't exist. So, it wasn't until college when I was diagnosed with high-functioning depression and anxiety, which is like, I'm okay. It looks like I'm okay, but hell, I'm not. And I've struggled with it my whole life, and I don't talk about it with my parents because it's just me being me. Like, they just don't think there's actually something wrong with me, even though, like, for a long time I've been depressed. Honestly, I really have been. My elementary school teachers would send notes home telling my parents how sad I always was, how constantly, like, I was always just, like, crying. I never had any energy. I was just very, like, I was just this really big ball of negativity, which is very strange to see in a child. And they would always wonder, like, is there anything going on at home or anything like that? There's nothing going on at home. It's just something that I always had. And even, like, in my elementary school diaries, I've kept a diary my whole life. I even have one right now. So my elementary school diaries, there's just, like, detailed upon detailed accounts of how depressed I actually really was. And I was only 4 years old. Like, it's just something that my parents never really tried to help me with. And sophomore year in high school, my mom saw that I had cuts on my arm, and that was probably one of the worst days of my life. I got my butt kicked. She kicked my butt. She was so furious. But she just told me to get over it.
Yeah.
Basically. But that's just the way that she was raised. I understand. Nobody talks about mental illness in our household. Nobody talks about anything in our household. We're so closed off from each other. Like, it's just so, like, yeah. So my dad was a little bit more understanding. And by understanding, I mean, like, patient. He was trying to just figure out what it was that was going through my mind when I was, like, self-harming. Like, he would ask me, doesn't it hurt? Like, doesn't it hurt? And I told him, no, it doesn't. It doesn't feel like anything. I just do it. And I don't even know why I do it. I just, it's like that song, I Hurt Myself Today. See if I can feel, or whatever. Super edgy, whatever. But yeah, that was a really rough time. And they didn't even suggest, like, oh, maybe you should go to a therapist. Right. Maybe there's actually something wrong with you. Like, you're cutting yourself and you don't feel anything. You don't feel like, maybe I shouldn't do this. You're just not even thinking. It's just mindless doing. And, like, I don't know, they didn't even help me. They actually didn't even talk to me for a week. They were really mad at me. It was so bad. They took away my car. They took away my phone. They basically isolated me. I was under house arrest, basically. And it was just really bad. It's just something that I've struggled. I can't really I don't talk to them about it because, I mean, again, they just don't get it. They really don't get it. And, it's just been really hard trying to find somebody that I can relate to. And I didn't even know. I mean, I knew I had something, but I was always like, no, it's not depression. It's just me being dumb. It's just me being sad. It's like my parents say, I have to get over it. And, but I got really sick. I stopped going to class. This was freshman year of college. I skipped a whole month of class because I just couldn't find the drive in me to get out of bed. I just thought, what is the point? I'm not even getting good grades. I don't even care at this point. Like, if I wake up the next morning, like, what does it matter? I don't even have friends. Like, nobody likes me. I am a nobody amongst 64,000+ students. There are people who are smarter than me. Like, sure, I was top 10, but that doesn't matter here. I'm below average. Basically, it was just so much. And I got really, really sick because I stopped eating. I didn't get out of bed. I wasn't eating. I wasn't drinking water. I got really sick. And my boyfriend at the time was like, yeah, you need to go to a doctor. So I went to Butyl, and they were like, what are your symptoms? And then I was telling them my symptoms, and they're like, well, what's led up to this? And then that's when I basically told them, well, I'm not eating, I'm not drinking, I'm not sleeping. I'm just in bed all day. And they're like, you have depression, dude. And I was like, cool, thanks. And I didn't really say anything. And my doctor was like really frustrated about it. And because I just sat there, I didn't say anything about it. I was just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's all I said. And she says, really? And I said, yes. Am I supposed to react a certain way? And she says, well, most of the time when I diagnose my patients with depression, they break down and cry, and that's when everything comes out. But you're not even reacting. And I said, well, I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. I'm probably going to get over it like tomorrow.
Right.
And she gave me some medication that I was excited to take because I thought, hey, like it might actually make me feel happy again. And I was really excited. And she told me, don't tell anybody that you're taking this medication and just let people tell you like, hey, you actually seem a lot more happier. And I said, okay. So I didn't. But I told my boyfriend that I was diagnosed with depression, and he was really concerned, but he didn't really say much. And this was around finals week in December. Later on that month, my grandpa was actually diagnosed with dementia, and he was taken to the hospital. He couldn't breathe on his own anymore. And it was so hard because I was battling my depression, and then I was away from home. I couldn't do anything about it. And my dad was completely like worried about his father, and it was just like, my father is a very fragile man, and I couldn't be there for him. And then on top of all that, my boyfriend, who I was leaning against as my support system, broke up with me because he said, you have a lot going on at home and you have a lot going on in your head, and I think that's something that you should figure out by yourself. And he just left me, basically. And it was just really hard. And then the more that I took this medication, the worse my depression got. I started self-harming again. I broke 3 years of cleanliness or whatever. And it was a really bad self-harm too. I completely covered my arms and my legs in cuts, and it was just really bad too. And like, I wasn't even letting them heal either. I would scratch them open like every week. And it was just really hard. And I threw away the pills, actually. I stopped taking them because I found that taking those pills was making it a lot worse. And it was like the first time I was actually contemplating suicide. I've never done that before. I am so afraid of death. I would never touch it, ever. But that was a really hard time. And then my roommate was not very supportive either. She hated me. So she was always really mean to me. And I was just basically looking for a balance. I was trying to find a rock because I was breaking. I couldn't handle it. And I've been working on that. And it seems to be getting better. I've gotten better.
Would you say that you have found a rock somewhere?
I have.
Yeah.
Jeanna.
There you go.
Yeah. It was something I didn't even expect either. I mean, the way that it happened, it was just so like random too. Me and my really low point, and I was going to this English class that I thought I was very inadequate as a student. Yeah, I would sit in the back. I wouldn't talk. I didn't have any friends in that class. And I would seriously start to tremble when my professor would call me out to answer things.
Ruthless. Professor B, you a savage.
I love her. She was
She's great.
really great. She was a great prof. And I would say things and I always felt like they were wrong.
No, you weren't.
But this one time we were in a circle to discuss one of the novels. And Jeanna sat next to me, and I was like, ugh. Because Jeanna was I don't know.
The butterfly.
Basically. And it was so annoying to me because I was very, very, very depressed. I was going through all these different things, and I was like, ugh, how could you possibly be this happy? How could anybody be this happy? Like, life sucks. Life literally sucks. And this girl is just over here happy. Like, it was just so annoying to me. And then, she sat down next to me, and I was like, great. This is going to be great. And, but she was humming a BTS song, and I was a really big ARMY at the time, so I was like, oh my God, should I ask? I was like, maybe I shouldn't. That would be weird. I don't know this girl. And then I was like, who cares? So I was like, ARMY? And she was like, oh my God, ARMY? And then that's how it happened. It was basically like
Blossomed.
Yeah, that's basically how it started, and then it just kind of developed. I don't know. It was just so weird how it happened. I kind of threw myself into the friendship too. Like, she invited me to her birthday party, and I was like, I don't really know you, but okay. And I went, and that was a really wild night.
It was a good night, though.
It was a good night. Yeah, and then after that, I still didn't really know her the first few months, but she was really nice to me. So I was like, it was better than anything that I was receiving from my roommate. And my parents were really stressed out too with like everything that was going on at home, so they were not really there for me either. And so Jeanna was she was there for me, so I was like, all right, I'll let it happen. I'll let this friendship happen.
Thanks.
And it did. So, yeah, and I don't know. She picks me up, which is good. Yeah, and she forces me to talk because
I hate when you don't.
I don't talk
I hate it.
about things. Because, I can't. My whole life I've been taught that, no, you shouldn't talk about these things because they don't exist. You're not sad. You're just being dumb. You need to get over it. There's no such thing as sadness. And my mom would tell me, like, you just have to distract yourself, get over it. Like,
Yeah.
Let it pop.
well, that's how she is.
I know.
There's something
I know.
wrong with her. She just
She honestly probably has something is denying it.
Like, I can kind of, like, situational, like, mine's a bit different. But for me, growing up, like, I just grew up with my mom. My brother and my sister my brother's 12 years older, my sister is 7 years older. So, like, they were gone whenever I was still fairly young. But, like, I knew this growing up, like, things weren't necessarily right. But for me, with my mom, it wasn't that it didn't exist. It was, she's very religious. I'm not. I don't have a problem with religion. I had friends from all sorts of different religions, and I'm like, okay, as long as you're a good person, I don't care.
Yeah.
But, like, don't push it on me. And I think a big part of that was because of her, because every time I would try and open up with her, it's like, oh, well, did you pray about it? I'm like,
or like you need to open up and talk to God.
yeah, just stuff like that. And, for some people, that's what helps them. And I'm not saying, anything about religion, as in whether it's true or not. But for me, like, I personally that wasn't how I could deal with things. So that would start a lot of fights between her and I.
Yeah.
It was not healthy at all. And it's like I would lose my kind of grip on the situation, and I would go off, and then we would just be at each other's throats, and it was not good.
Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
It's really interesting to me, and I kind of want to speak into this gently where I can, because kind of a guy who still is in a church.
Yeah.
But it's, no, and I
right.
totally understand where we get a ton of things wrong, and I've never met your mother. I don't want to impose any, prejudice on her, but there's a big mistake that we make so many times, and that's kind of pushing people off, and kind of, especially when you said, oh, have you prayed about it? That's something that's been said to me, that I've kind of said to people, and it's something that we say that I've said when you don't understand the situation and you don't want to deal with the situation, and
nonchalant.
It's like a default answer.
It's a default answer, and it sounds like something. I mean, in theory, like, yes, prayer is a very good thing. Kind of, talking through it, opening up, and seeing what it is. But even if you are super religious, and especially if you're Christian, most Christians understand, or at least believe, that God uses people to talk to other people. He doesn't just sit there waiting for you to pray to him. He's using other people around you, especially people whom he's with, that know who he is, to speak peace into situations where there needs to be some. So if somebody comes up to a Christian and they are battling through depression, they're in my opinion, a good Christian would be like, oh man, what can I do to help? What can I do to speak into the situation and kind of give you peace? And a lot of times the answer is like, wow, Jesus is great, which doesn't make sense if you don't understand who Jesus is and you don't have 30 years of Sunday school training, which is unfortunate, because that's not something everybody gets. And I
I've
think
had 30 years and you're only 21.
Wow.
You know what? Cram it in. God works in weird ways. I don't know, but the point being, it's like, if you haven't been around church lingo and church language for however long, then it's kind of hard to sit there and understand what they mean when they say that, because I
feel like maybe they should go into that then and be
exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we fall short a ton of times, or a lot of times. Something I at least tell people, or that I get told, is like, oh, look at scripture, look what the Bible says. The Bible has a lot of stuff to say about depression.
Yeah, I need to read the Bible for literature reasons.
Yeah.
Same.
a lot to say about
Again.
depression, a lot to say about anxiety. Like, I mean, even if you just like look at like the red letters, which, you know, the ones that Jesus actually spoke, I think one of his most famous quotes is like, let tomorrow worry for itself, today has enough worries for its own sake. And so it's like, if people could just quote that verse, you know, like, instead of, hey, go pray about it. If people could just take the 5 extra seconds to open up the book and say, hey, like, do you want to talk about it with me? Instead of, hey, go talk about it in your room in a corner by your bed and with your hands folded and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, and then this divine formula is going to work out for you.
Yeah.
There's so much relationship that I think is ignored, but I think relationship is ultimately the thing that, again, gets us through. Whether you are religious or not, you find so much depth in community, and there's so much value in it that it does build you up and edify you. And I didn't mean to cut you off there. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But I was like, I definitely agree with you in that
Yeah.
we get things wrong way too much.
Well, I think everybody does.
Yeah.
No matter what religion it is, whether you're religious or not.
Don't even get me started on Catholicism, which is what my family practices.
Yeah. Well, because, like, I was in the church growing up, you know? Like, I was kind of forced, more or less. But, and I learned good stuff from it, but it wasn't my personal, like, belief system, I feel like. Like, my mom, at one point, was very upset with me because some of my, like, best friends at the time were Mormon. And I was
Gotcha.
like, oh, all right, well, you know, I'm open to things. I'll just go to LDS. Well, she did not like that one bit. And for me, it wasn't so much like, oh, I'm Mormon now or something like that. Because I had never called myself like Mormon or I would consider that even just to myself. It was more so just a learning thing. Like, I'm open about it. And I feel like everybody has good things that, like we were talking about earlier, you can always learn something from someone. So it's like, for her, she saw it as like, oh, this is bad. Like, it's a different religion, blah, blah, blah. Like, to me, it wasn't like that, though. It was just, I'm going with my friends. She didn't have a problem with them. But it was like, whenever I started going to their church, it was like, oh, what? And then it became a problem. And I was like, I mean, I'm not really going necessarily for the religion part of it. I'm just going because, one, they're my friends, and two, it's like interesting just to learn new things. However, that was a big part of like what I kind of feel led to us being a little bit more at peace with each other.
Okay.
Because, yes, it took a lot of, I guess, battles between each other because of it. But in the end, now we have a much better relationship. Of course, that also has to do with me not living at home, you know, all of that after I moved out. But overall, just religion, she doesn't push that as bad. Because whenever I did start going to another church and stuff, I was like, okay, I can see where things are different, but I also understand, like, okay, there's good and bad in everything, you know, but it took a while for us to come to, I guess, equal terms on it. Now, of course, she still has her beliefs, I have mine, and it's not really something we talk about too often. I think for the most part, I kind of go off of just treat other people how you want to be treated. And like, I don't feel like it takes any religion to kind of know how to treat people correctly. It's good. And I still read the Bible, like occasionally, just because there are like good things in it. And I feel like if people can just understand, yes, you can have your own beliefs, but you shouldn't like just degrade other people for that, because at home, tying this back into like the mental illness type stuff, I had a mental illness and I'm trying to open up and talk with her about all of this, and it's like, well, I can't talk with my mother. Who am I going to talk to? I didn't talk to anybody. And then it's like growing up, I'm just like, well, I'm not allowed to say anything, you know. It's like, because it just leads to fights.
Yeah.
So it kind of builds up on everything, and it's like,
It's basically like a damned if you do, damned if
Yeah.
you don't situation. 'Cause you're not getting any help from it if you're just fighting with somebody about what you're feeling. It's like, well, you shouldn't feel this way. It's like, well, who are you to dictate what I feel or not? It's not like I'm asking to be depressed. It just happens. What do you want me to do?
I think it comes from people not understanding. So
Yeah. Yeah.
And kind of back to before, it's really, and I don't mean to be cynical about it, but when we were talking about mental illness, it genuinely is so difficult to understand if you don't go through
Yeah.
it. You know, in the same way that, you know, I'm not a woman. I don't understand how y'all work. Like it's not like completely impossible. Like there's crossover, certainly. We're not completely different people, but it's just like, yes, there's certain parts of y'all's lives that I'll never understand. There's certain parts of our lives that y'all just won't understand. And that's not an awful thing, but you know, coming back to the very beginning of the conversation when y'all said communication is everything with a relationship, that doesn't just go for y'all, that goes for, you know, parents and kids, students and teachers, coaches and players, whatever it is. You know, learning how to not just say, okay, whatever you believe is fine, because some people think murder is okay. Like that's like understanding that there's like a good and evil as well. Like understanding that there's a way to treat people, understanding that there's a way to do relationships and to do friendships, and like don't take advantage of people. I think that's a pretty good coverall.
just be a good bean.
Anyway, yeah, and so, and the way you said it, I mean, treat other people the way you want to be treated. I don't know if Jesus said it first, but he certainly said it once, you know, so it's like, it's
Actually Shakespeare.
chronology.
Just kidding.
LOL.
I
But,
hate Shakespeare.
and so it's one of those things where you just kind of have to sit back and realize, like, if anything, just have more conversations with people.
Yeah,
you
especially
know.
when it comes to mental health, because a lot of it springs from loneliness and not being able to
It's
talk
really
to
hard
people.
though. I mean, the way that it like gender and everything aside, the way that I did, like, I'm gonna try and describe it. It's kind of just like it just consumes you, and you really just don't know what. It's like a fog. It's a really thick black fog, and you just don't know what direction you're walking in.
I think it's more like a spiral down for me, because like I guess I'll give my story now. Woo! So I guess I've had depression since middle school, but I didn't tell my parents about it until after my freshman year of college, actually. And my dad found me like lying on the bathroom floor, and I was crying, and I was like, I just don't want to live anymore. Like, I'm tired of it. Like, it's not worth it. Like, I'm gonna die eventually, so why do I have to like even be here, kind of thing. I just didn't want to live anymore, and it kind of stemmed from relationships. And I was in a long distance relationship, and we were eight hours away from each other. So like I threw my all into that relationship, and it just didn't work out, or it wasn't working out at that point. So I cried to my dad about it, and he like picked me up and he put me on the couch, and he actually like had a conversation with me about it. And he wasn't like blaming me or anything. He was just like, we'll get you help, like you will go see a therapist and you will get better, because you don't need to feel like this. And my mom, she didn't want to talk to me because she was very mad that I never told her about it, because she's from Guyana. What's up, Guyanese people, if you're listening? And she, like, mental health isn't talked about there either. So it's a less developed country than now, so they don't even have mental health support there. So she just thought that I was being like over dramatic and kind of like the stuff that your mom felt. But so my dad and my sister took it really seriously, because my sister also struggles with it. And I went to see a therapist, and I broke up with that person that made me so depressed, I guess, or like made it worse, made my depression worse. Because I think my depression comes from, I don't want to say other people, but like from,
Yeah, ambient noise is a thing.
you're good,
Yeah,
from
that's fine.
like the burdens that I place on myself. I get so overwhelmed very easily. So after that, I was like, you know what? Like, you're not going to be depressed anymore. And I told myself that, and I fought it, and I've been fighting it, and I can say that I'm consistently pretty happy. I mean, I have my days, but I got through it, and with the help of other people, and like focusing my strengths on other things. And I mean, there's still days where I'm like, oh my God, like, but I know how to like pull myself out of it, you know?
Yeah. What consistently for you, and maybe almost go around the table, I think Kendra hit on it earlier, that it might be just Jeanna, but like, what rock have you found? Is there a place that you go when you feel like that spiral is starting? You know, whether you're just like 1 foot down, 2 feet down, 6 feet down already, and you're trying to find your way back up. Where do you run to for security?
I think I run to myself first and foremost because I don't want to burden anybody because I'm the rock, lol. So I can't be like shattered or unwavering kind of. So I feel that not to say that's a burden, and I take joy that I can help my friends and family. So like I think that I run to myself, and I have to tell myself that like, look, it's okay. Like what you're feeling will pass. Like it's fine to be sad, extremely sad, but like you have people who love you and who care about you, and there's so much more you're gonna do. And I always try to stay consistently happy for the future. Like even if it's bad, like I come up with mottos. Like I say, every day's an adventure. So like if anything goes bad, I'm like, oh, every day's an adventure. Like
C'est la vie.
yeah, c'est la vie. Like that's what's gonna happen, and you just literally have to push through it. So I try and keep my head up above the water, and I usually do. And if that doesn't work, if like talking myself out of it doesn't work, I usually talk to my friends about it. Like I talk to Kendra about it, and I talk to Tristan about it. And my parents, I know I can always talk to them about it. Like my dad, when he came to visit me last year at A&M, we were up on the roof of my, why was I gonna say hotel? My apartment, and it was like 8 stories high, and he was looking out at like Kyle Field and everything, and he like turned to me and he was like, "You're not gonna do anything to yourself, right?" And I was like,
Jump.
"No," and he was like, "'Cause I would feel the worst if anything happened to you for sending you here. I know that you have things you want to accomplish, but you can talk to me." And I was like, "Thank you, Dad," because I know that I can talk to them about it too. So like, I have to remind myself that people care about me, and I think that's one of the best things, that I'm not lonely. Like whatever I'm facing right now is literally going to be over in a week, you know, or hopefully in a week. The main things. So I think that that's the big thing, that you just have to keep like reminding yourself that it's not all that bad. Like it's going to be bad, but I don't know how to explain it. You know, what do you think? What do y'all think?
I kind of embrace it.
The dark side.
I've had it for so long, it's comforting to me, and I will let myself become extremely depressed because it's just, so when I say Gina's my rock, I say that she's my rock in a way that she's teaching me that happiness is okay. Because before, whenever I was happy, I always thought like it was just some kind of facade, or it wasn't actually real. So I got really good at just like distracting myself from my depression. It was there. But then eventually I kind of just like accepted the fact that, yeah, I'm depressed, but like that's okay. So yeah, I'll let myself like go back into it just because it's comforting, and I get really tired of being out of my comfort zone. Sometimes I need that like sadness to be happy again. It's really weird. But
as long as you don't get too sad, that's when I worry. Because like you can listen to sad songs all day, and I'm like, yeah, sad songs.
oh yeah, but that's just me in
that.
general. I just like,
Yeah.
I really like the lyrics
When
and
you
sad
get, like,
songs.
Whenever you get sad, I'm like,
But like sometimes it
breathing. Sorry.
sometimes it just like it's just so overwhelming sometimes that I can't get out of it at all. And yeah, like there will be days where I'm extremely happy, but it's there. It's just like,
Lurking behind the corner.
yeah, and it's not me being done with it. Yeah, I talk to people about it, and it's really nice. It's really refreshing. I'm not taking medication anymore because
I didn't take medication for it. I was just like, I'm gonna get happy by myself. So like,
yeah, I was like, no, never doing that again. So I'm like, you know, it just varies. I don't really have a consistent way of keeping myself from being depressed because it's still there.
Yeah.
the one day, hopefully,
I don't know if I completely
Well,
want it to go away though.
when we're like 30 and have kids, hopefully it'll be better.
Well, I saw.
When
It's a
we
really
have
great
kids.
video.
Sorry.
Just get away from me.
It's a really great video that I've seen quite a few times, and I'll go back to it and watch it every once in a while. But it's called The Black Dog, and it's talking about depression. You know, it's not something that really ever fully goes away, but you learn how to kind of deal with it, and some days it'll be worse than others, you know, but you just learn how to live with it, and you kind of,
Gotta keep pushing.
yeah. But, you know, it's like, I think I've gotten a lot better with mine because at one point I was going, not too long ago, actually, it was probably about a year or so ago, and I was going to a therapist, and this lady's like, oh, you know, I can't help you.
Yeah.
What?
That's why I don't go
Yeah.
to therapists.
I went to a therapist and she was
I
very
don't
good.
trust therapists.
Well, it's kind of a difficult thing because it's like, on one hand, it's their job. They went to school to do this. But on the other hand, I can understand where she was coming from because of the fact that she would tell me, oh, I'm not like giving her enough to go off of, like to help me. Because, like I said, growing up, you know, I just didn't talk about it. And then after military, that led to even more problems, which then like made my family life even worse than it like already was, because I put a lot of burden on myself. I did not talk to anybody at all. So I think it got to a point where I didn't even know how to talk like about any of it. So it was like I would go there and she would ask me like, oh, you know, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you want. I just don't want to be here. Like, there's not anything in particular that has to be, like, there doesn't have to be a reason for me to feel that way. Like, I can just be depressed and in a very bad place for no reason. Like, everything can be going absolutely wonderful, and just out of nowhere it'll, like, just hit me.
Yeah,
But
dude.
no, it was kind of strange because she said, oh, I can't help you. Like, you aren't giving me enough. I'm like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, I don't know how to explain what I'm feeling because I don't talk about it. So it was like to a point where I shut myself in so much to everybody else that it was like, even a therapist can't help me? Like, that wasn't a very...
That's not.
Well, no, that's how I viewed it at the time.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I would feel the same way.
Yeah,
Like,
but that doesn't mean that you're beyond help.
No, it wasn't necessarily that. And it was also a thing of like, she wasn't somebody who I knew very well. And I don't open up to people most of the time, especially not people who I don't know. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, some people have an easier time of opening up to somebody they don't know because it's like, oh, I'll talk to them for a little while and then I'm not going to see them anymore and it doesn't bother me. But it's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't want to talk to somebody whenever I don't know them. I don't know what they're thinking because I'm a very big person whenever it comes to, I like to know how people work. And I will be very quiet. And yes, I'm an introvert and all that. And, you know, I'll kind of zone out to an extent. But I'm always listening. Like, I'm always observing as much as I possibly can. And I like kind of reading people just for fun.
Same.
Just kind of to see how other people view things or how they think about different situations. But in this particular case, it was like, oh, she can't even help me. And at first, it was kind of a negative thing. I put it as, oh, like if she can't help me, then how am I supposed to deal with this? But
Mental health is really important, though.
yeah, and I think as I went on, it was more so, I got so far into a dark place to where, yeah, like I'll admit it, I've attempted suicide on 2 occasions. But that last time, which was last year, I wasn't completely like, oh, I want to die necessarily.
Yeah.
It was more so, oh, I'm in the moment. I have a bunch of fucking pills and a bunch of alcohol and, you know, I just kind of did it without thinking. And then I went downstairs to another person that I lived with, or still live with, and she was like, wait, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And like after that though, I kind of, ever since then I've started to open up a bit, because she helped me that night whenever I was in that place. And like, I was like, don't call an ambulance. Do not do that. Like, I couldn't walk. Like I had super bad fever and everything. But I was like, please do not. And I mean, obviously she was worried, and it's like, that kind of sounds really bad that, you know, I did all this stuff, and then like I felt really bad afterwards because I'm like, oh, I did that to her.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's like, I know she already has her own stuff to deal with, so I definitely felt bad after that, and I'm like, man, I gotta do something about this. Like, I guess I had to hit a super low place again to kind of understand what I needed to get out of that, and to try and help myself a bit more. So ever since then, it's like I've tried to talk more with my family, like my brother, because I was super close with him growing up. In a way, more so that he was like my father figure. But once he left for the Marines, he was gone. And it's like, okay, well, what now? So we kind of drifted, and then I had issues with my mental health while I was in the Marines. And that was part of what led me to get separated and everything. So I was like, ooh, that led to us having a very distant relationship for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, well, I'm a failure to him. Because he was part of the reason why I went to the military. But after a while, and after this last year, I've tried to open up a lot more with him, especially about all of this, because he actually deals with a lot of the same stuff, and we're actually a lot more similar than what kind of initially would think. To the point where not that long ago I called him, and it was after Jeanna and I started dating. But it was because of the fact that I was like doing really well, and you know, like I wasn't worrying about stuff. And I still am, but it was like I was just very busy, and I was not really thinking about it. So I kind of stopped talking with him for a little bit, and I called him one day, and he's like, "Oh, is something wrong? Like, what happened?"
Yeah.
I'm like, no, everything's fine. Because before that, I was just calling him and kind of talking with him whenever things were bad and whenever I needed help. Yeah. So now I'm trying to get back into like not just going and reaching out to people whenever I'm in that spot, but also whenever I'm doing well. Mm-hmm. So it's like
it's kind of like reaching out as a first response as opposed to a last resort.
Yeah.
You know, and just understanding that, you know, you don't just go to community because you need it, but you go to community and to friends because you genuinely want it.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to understand that that you do want and desire friendship, because a lot of times this just masked as, oh, I'm lonely right now. And you can understand that you're lonely, but you can't quite understand that you want friends and these deep, like meaningful relationships. And so I've seen that in myself as well, where like the conversations that I've had with friends, you know, when you start having like deep conversations, they would always be when, you know, stuff was going bad, either for me or for them. And they wouldn't, you know, necessarily bring me down, but it was always just, you know, let's just vent about today. Mm-hmm. Let's vent about whatever the heck is going on with school or class or life or relationships. And then I don't know what exactly the shift was. Maybe it was just kind of across the board. We realized like we want to have fun conversations. We want to go out and do things. It's fun to sit here and talk, and that's, you know, awesome. But it's also fun to just go out and see a movie, go out and go dancing, go out, and have a couple of drinks or something, because that's totally chill and totally fun. And there's a healthy way to do that. And I think, again, just like going out and being active and finding something to do together, it's more than just kind of social distraction. It genuinely is something that, actively brings you closer together and brings you into a space where, man, I am happy. We talked about, or you talked about, and it was sticking with me, you don't need a reason to be sad. But I think definitely a lot of people are searching for a reason to be happy. And it's not that you don't need a reason to be happy. I'm not confident making that statement, because it's kind of hard to just tell somebody be happy for no reason. I definitely think you need to find that reason, and what that reason is to you kind of comes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like, is it your friends? Is it your community? Is it stuff like religion or whatever? Then you pursue that as a first response. You don't wait until life kind of takes a couple of swings at you and figure out how to rebound,
Yeah.
You're letting all that crap go on the offense, and you're sitting there in the corner trying to buckle, as opposed to, not just grab life by the horns, motivational
So
speaker.
many metaphors in this.
Right,
I love
yeah. But I'm trying not to just be like super basic motivational speaker here.
No, you're good.
But I personally felt a huge change in just being proactive with things. I love the word proactive, because it just means you're thinking ahead enough to know, man, I'm a little bit down right now. I want to make sure this doesn't go anywhere. So let me call my buddy Ryan or my buddy Riley or my buddy Austin tonight, as opposed to 2 or 3 days from now when this has already gotten out of control. And kind of fill them in on the situation beforehand.
Yeah.
So they can text me tomorrow and be like, yo, is this good now? And I can be like, no, it's not. Or like, yeah, it was chill, we're all fine. But having that constant community is huge.
I agree
Yeah,
with that.
definitely. But no, I think, as Kendra was saying, going back to this, Jeanna has definitely been there for me as well.
Cheese and cheese.
Like I said, I think closer to the beginning, I don't open up to too many people. And a big part of that for me has always been relationships with a significant other. Like, yeah, I have my friends and I'll open up to them somewhat, but I've always more so confided in a significant other. Whenever I have that, I'm a lot more open with that person. And some people couldn't deal with that in the past.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's understandable, but it would also screw with me because, I mean, whenever you get into a relationship with somebody, you want to have good times. But for like that other person, if I'm in that bad place and it's like I just start pouring all this on somebody, like, you can't. Yeah, it's not a good thing. Like,
well, in those vows, bro, you say for better or for worse.
Yeah.
In sickness or in health. And that's not just like physical health, bro. That's freaking mental health as well.
That's
And
definitely.
Brian.
we're all we're all going through something, and while some people make a bigger deal out of it than others, some people handle it in different ways. Like, there's naturally ups and downs in whatever, journey your life is taking you down or towards.
Yes.
And it's gotta come back to people who, love you enough to kind of call you out in a weird way and say, hey, not get over this right now, but hey, there is something better here. And what that something better is, at the very least, I would say community. At the very least, I would say there are people around here who love you. And sometimes getting people to understand that is so hard, because it's one of those abstract things. Again, it's like especially like in the church, when people throw like the Jesus hose on people and it's like, Jesus loves you. It's like, who the heck is Jesus? Like, I've never met this guy. Like, exactly. It's like, I see a picture of him, but who the heck is he? And so until you have this relationship, if it's with God, if it's like with whoever, then you're not going to understand what that love feels like. Because, I mean, honestly, like, this sounds cheesy, but like, the antidote to any kind of fear, depression, anxiety is just love, knowing that you're loved. And so you can have all of this love coming to you, but, communication's a two-way street. And so if they're sending all of this love your way, but there's just a roadblock, in your own heart, and you're not willing to receive that, or just, the crossed wires upstairs, because it is chemistry and biology, all that cool stuff. It's not just a choice. You're choosing to not receive it. But if for whatever reason there's just a gate that can't be opened for that love to pass through, that's when things are like no bueno at all.
Yes.
For
I
a
agree with that.
point in time, that was me actually. That's actually kind of me right now.
That annoys me so much.
Where I'm not letting people in just because I don't want people in. I don't know. Sometimes it gets really like frustrating to me trying to let people in, because it's like I've been alone for so long. It's a comfort thing to me, and I get really drained when I let too many people in. So it's kind of just like, just let me be by myself for a little bit.
I understand that, but whenever she gets like that, I want her to be alone in a good way, because there's differences between being alone in a bad way or a good way. So, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, lately it's been in a bad way,
And I
but
don't like that.
I feel like it's one of those moments where I do have to be sad in order to be happy again. It's one of those like going back to my roots thing. But because I mean, I'm putting that block in general, like not in general, sorry. Yeah, I'm putting that block, and so I feel like that's something I have to work on,
Yeah.
because I shouldn't be blocking that out. Obviously, it scares me,
Right.
so I gotta overcome that.
And I think where it comes for a lot of people who either aren't diagnosed or who don't, necessarily even feel as if they are depressed, they'll put a block around those feelings themselves. And like, kind of like you were saying earlier, it's like, oh, I'm not depressed. I'm just like this.
It's just me being me.
It's just you being you. It's, it's a choice or whatever you think it is. But, man, you got to have a good cry
Yeah.
at least twice a month.
Oh, oof.
When you get
I
stressed.
mean,
I've had one every day.
I don't like crying.
I love
Don't
crying.
you got to let it go.
I don't like not being happy, so I struggle.
The morning
with that.
after I cry,
Struggle.
It's the best.
it's the best.
It's the best.
I've never felt that.
I wake
I don't
up,
think
my
I've ever
face
felt
is swollen, my eyes are closed
They
shut,
are. They're very swollen.
and I'm like, oh my god, I look like trash. But that was a good cry.
Yeah.
Like, I know based on how ugly I look in the morning, how good of a cry it
That
was
is
the night
true.
before.
Or bad.
Huh?
Or bad. I will cry. Like you cry a lot.
Yeah, I do cry a lot, but I have to.
No, but I'm saying like, never mind. Nothing.
No, I think like crying over bad things is good for me. I love crying so much. I'm such an emotional person. I cry over everything. I cry watching movies,
Oh my god, yes, I love that aspect of you though. It's cute.
especially love.
I don't know.
love
I don't
movies.
think I cry a lot. I feel like it takes a lot to make me cry. Just like it takes a lot to get me mad.
I think it's just because you're stubborn.
I think I am very stubborn. I don't like
I
crying.
don't know. I've gotten you mad.
You got me mad.
Really? Okay.
You got me sad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was sadness.
Sadness.
Yeah.
That's why
Was
I
I
get
mad?
slapped on the shoulder.
You were mad.
Oh. That was just you being a butt for no reason.
Okay,
I
let's
wasn't
walk
mad.
through this.
No,
Let's
I don't
walk through
think it
this.
was him being a butt.
Wait, are you talking about today?
No.
Or are you talking about then?
I'm talking about them.
Okay,
Yeah.
talk about that.
Talking about
Let's
the
walk through
issue.
this.
Yes.
The issue.
Let's talk about this.
We all
yes.
know what's.
The issue is.
We already know the issue.
Okay,
I was there.
Okay.
Tristan will hear.
He's heard about it.
Oh, he's heard about it. Okay.
We all know.
Yeah.
Let's go, Gina.
Okay,
Yeah.
you go first. You start off. What were you
Okay.
thinking?
So-
Mr. I like to not have friends because story time with Jeanna and
First
Cody.
of all, I feel you though. I
Yeah.
feel you on that aspect.
First of all, you were an asshole.
No, he's
Hey, I'll
not.
take it. I'll take it.
Okay, go.
Maybe
Okay.
the way that you said it.
Yeah, the way that you
Yeah.
said it.
Certainly, yes.
The
way
delivery
that I
was very hurtful.
I told Gina.
very comedic.
I told Gina it was honestly probably just a slip of the tongue. If that's what he's
Yeah.
used to, that's what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
That's how I am.
I'm so.
I love how nobody actually knows what it was yet.
True.
We're talking about it, but the actual
Right.
story has not been explained.
Okay.
Go
All
for
the
it,
build
Cody.
up, clickbait.
Okay.
Let's go.
Yep.
Okay.
So, a couple of weeks ago now,
Yeah.
Gina and I were walking from class, and I guess like we've all been kind of hanging out intermittently, just on the weekends, have a
Yeah.
few drinks, do whatever, have some fun, watch some Netflix. It's all chill. But I kind of jokingly told Gina that it was
Joking.
joking.
That's not the word.
Okay, I told Gina, not so
Satire.
jokingly, that there's this thing called semester friends where you are really good friends with people for a semester, and then after that semester ends, there's an 85 to 90% chance that we'll never see each other again and that it's completely fine.
Yeah, and then you said, come May 4th, I'm out. And I was like, the white guy blinking meme for those who cannot see. But yeah, continue.
And then I got a text message while I was at work from Gina saying that my behavior was not appropriate. The That's not exactly what the text said, but I'm not going to read the text.
True.
And I recognized that, and then I tried to apologize.
You did.
Yes,
I
and
think
that's
you
where I'll
explained
stop.
it more.
Yes.
It was good.
You walk through your end of it, because I am curious.
My end of it was super hurt
Yeah.
because I didn't feel that way about us. I didn't think that we'd just be like, yeah, I know that there are things like semester friends, but I thought that we would see each other at least once, coming the coming years. So I was, because for me, I don't invite people into my life unless I want them to be in there for a little bit, because I see my time as an investment. So I was not going to be hanging out with you if I didn't think that we were not going to be friends. So like it hurt me that you thought that we were not going to be friends. What?
You good?
Sorry.
I think she thought something was blinking.
Yeah, no, it's because somebody had a mic like this in his room, and it was always like blinking, and I was always like paranoid, like, is it recording?
No.
I just had to make sure. Sorry.
It's whether or not so you can
solid.
put or headphones in it, and
Yeah.
it can be live, but it's not, because
Gotcha.
Sorry, continue, Jeanna.
I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. No, I was really hurt that you felt that way about us because I didn't feel that way about us at all. And I was a little bit angry because I was like, if you felt that way, then why are we hanging out at all? That's how I felt about it, because I was like, then don't waste my freaking time. Like, I got other friends. Like, I can invest my time in people who actually want to be in my life for a while. And at the same time, Kendra was like, it might have been just a slip of the tongue. But I was like, I don't really have those often, so I was having a hard time processing that. But at the same time, I kind of saw where you were coming from, because we were talking about it and we were saying like how people in the past might have like been your semester friend and then like you didn't see them anymore, so you were just relating that to us because like I guess that's all you ever knew.
I mean, it is college culture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is definitely. But like the thing is, I'm not like that, so I was just offended,
Well, and it's interesting, and I know this doesn't help the situation, because like that was the case, and kind of is the case, because at least freshman year, definitely freshman year, and definitely sophomore year, kind of had friends that you get super close to throughout the semester. You're like, oh my gosh, these are going to be my college friends. And
Yeah.
at least in high school, my parents told me the friends you meet in college are going to stay with you
Yeah.
forever, and they didn't stay with me past December.
And you're
Yeah,
like,
and it's really shitty.
but the thing
Yeah.
is,
It really sucks.
when it comes to relationships, you both need to put the effort down. That's why I always try to be honest with people about my intentions. Like, if I was going to be your friend for a semester, I would have already been out, because that wouldn't have been a thing, So, like, I think that the communication on your part for relationships, because I've had friends who I've known since freshman year of high school. Well, that too. But, like, freshman year of college, and we're still friends, and we still see each other on campus, and we're like, hey, what's up? Or we, like, trying to get together, even though we're busy. Like, Amba, I love that girl. She's great. And there's a couple more that I'm good friends with, and, like, I want to keep them in my life because I think that they're good for me and good people in general. So, like,
Yeah.
I was just like, how dare you be like, we're just going to be semester friends. I was like, oh, wait up. Yeah. And then I'm very sensitive.
Kendra shakes her head.
Yeah,
Tristan
I
shakes
have
his head.
slip of the tongue moments myself. She gets really depressed, and I'm like, wait, that's
I
was
do.
just- it was
I
an
get very,
accident.
because all I have to go off of is your body language and what you say. And sometimes when they align and they're very bad to me, I'm just like, what did I do?
I'm that way too. Like sometimes she'll say things like, "Oh my god," like very long-term things about like our friendship and stuff, and I'm always
gets
like,
scared.
you know what? Like I don't want to say anything now.
And that hurts my feelings because I am committed.
But I'm just being realistic
I get that.
in my way.
I get that, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I'm not. So that's why. But like that's why I was like, look,
It's a balance.
it was probably a slip
That's a
of the
heart attack.
tongue.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
But like that's why I decided to talk to you about it and send that text, because I was like, maybe we won't be friends. It's fine, just leave it. But then I'm a talker, so I had to send that text. I was like, it will make me feel better. So
Yeah, I was kind of sitting there playing devil's advocate, like a little bit.
Thanks, bro.
I was mostly helping her
Okay.
out and like trying to get her to feel better about the situation. But like I could see where you were coming from too, because I've had friends who showed up and then you kind of start to get close to them.
and then they leave.
Yeah, or it'll be the opposite where like in this situation, like you were kind of putting up walls because you didn't want to get hurt, whatever. Because people do leave and they just kind of disappear and like act like it's nothing.
I hate
For sure.
that.
Yeah, but you're also a different kind of person than a lot of
Ghost
people.
I'm like,
Right.
I would.
Well, it's not even ghosting. 'Cause if I would have
Yeah.
ghosted you, I just wouldn't even have responded.
you can't ghost me. We have the same class, you hoe.
I know. I just stopped showing up.
You can definitely
mad.
ghost somebody while you're in the same class. Lizzie, do you remember from English 303? Liz?
Oh yeah.
I thought she was going to be my friend because I asked her, like, hey, do you mind if we're, like, friends? Because I didn't have any friends. She was like, yeah. I never talked to her again
Yeah, no.
after that day. And we would see each other in class. I would sit next to her, and we wouldn't talk. So that was actually one of the biggest things I learned in college is, like, nobody's your friend. Nobody cares about you. Well, because they're semester friends.
Right.
Because
Y'all are just trying to get through a class together. And then-
that wasn't for me. For me, I was trying to find a friendship in everybody, and to them, it's just like, no, I don't
You're a
care
little
about you.
fishy. But then I think looking back, I'm really fortunate because I see people on campus all the time and they care. And like I know that if I like texted them, they'd be like, "What's up?" You know, or like, you know, it's just a matter of like reaching out because it takes two to tango. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to hang out, you have to make it happen. You know, so like, I don't know. It's
With everybody that I
but not everybody's gonna want to hang out with
exactly
you. As
that's
Kendra has
that's
told
my
me.
problem. I encounter like with the people that I encounter. Yeah, sure, I'm all for working towards something, but they're not. So.
But then you just have to find the people that are worth it, and that's why it's not no skin off my back. So what?
I've only found one person. Well, Haley. Haley's a cool person. I love Haley. Lizzie.
Lizzie too.
I fucking love Lizzie.
Our group in
Oops.
general.
You're fine.
Yeah, I love
No, I like our
medievalist society.
that we're leaders of now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely where I was coming from, and not to expose my whole life story
You
here.
good?
But
You can leave a little bit. Little crumb.
just little nuggets. I mean, definitely not only in like college, but definitely in high school. There's been times where I felt as if a relationship was committed, you know, whether that's a friend or just like a dating relationship. And then, you know, you say things hopefully and optimistically, and then you end up making promises that you can't deliver on. And so I kind of negate that or try to negate that by not
Making
by kind
promises.
of yeah, by not making promises.
By giving anti-promises.
I mean,
Being like,
yes.
we're not going to be friends, ho.
or no, just don't promise anything.
Right. And so
I don't see the problem. Like you will pick yourself up even if that relationship doesn't work out. So like, why not try?
No, that's
I don't
not
get
the
it.
case. I mean, if I were to be optimistic about something and then it doesn't go my way, that's going to impact me incredibly. I mean, look, it did with you and Cody. You were so
True, I was
optimistic
really
about your
sad.
friendship, and then he
well,
was
it's all
like,
about setting
But then I was
expectations.
I was gonna get over it.
"True,
That
you
was
were."
just that day. If you didn't want to be my friend,
It's
I would have
true.
been like, that's fine.
But that's you.
Well, it's setting expectations as well, which might have been honestly like what that statement was for. You know, it was legit setting the expectation of, hey, if
I'm
this
leaving.
doesn't happen, like not I'm leaving, but just
Yeah.
That's how I took it. I was like, oh.
no, I'm just saying there's a
It
pretty
might.
good chance that like after the semester,
It
this
might
is what
happen.
history has shown. This is just kind of what the
Yeah.
culture shows again, as Kendra
But
put
then
it.
you like yeeted out. You were like,
because I had to go to work.
with that, and then just go. It's like,
It's called a punchline.
yeah.
Oh my god, a
It
literal.
punched me in the gut.
Sorry, girl.
No, it's
sorry.
okay. It's just.
I'm so sorry.
I guess people don't expect me to be genuine. I guess so.
Well, yeah, because so many people nowadays aren't.
And then I
So
take the
it's-
brunt of y'all's
Exactly.
freaking.
We live in a
pessimistic
society.
we
No,
live in
but,
a
like-
society.
It just makes me upset because there are genuinely good people out there. You just gotta look.
Yeah, but there's so much like negative stuff, and
Does that mean you shouldn't try?
It's not that we're
It's-
saying that.
yeah.
It's just you gotta be
It's-
cautious.
You do have to be
Exactly.
cautious. I'm not saying that either.
it
You
takes a
shouldn't.
little bit to kind of.
But if you see good in somebody, you shouldn't try and be like.
Well, some
snatch 'em
people-
up. Y'all are like Pokemon, and I'm a Pokemon trainer. This is how I see it. I'm a Pokemon trainer, and you're the Charizard.
So you're just using us to fight your battles.
Basically, let's be real. Depression. I choose you. But no, seriously, like I
There was
collect.
fire in your mouth.
I don't know. I think that y'all are special people, so I don't want to like let you go.
Yeah.
I see your worth. If that makes sense, or I try to see your worth.
Well, no, like, I guess what I
That
was
goes for you
saying-
too.
Well, thanks.
Or I would not be here. I would have been like, I'm taking a nap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not Shirag.
Yeah, we're not Shirag.
You'll come on. You'll come on.
Eventually, hopefully.
This should be the
One of you
clip.
tape him to the chair
Yeah.
and force him to. No,
I love Shirag. He's great.
he's
You'll
good.
come on.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
But
Your dad.
no, like I think it just takes a little bit to try and kind of form that bond and
Yeah.
understand after so many, like you can kind of condition yourself over the years that, oh, well, so many people aren't genuine and so many people will just leave, like don't care.
It's what we call abandonment issues.
Oh,
Very much
you
so.
texted me that. LOL.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's, and it
Are you gonna
sounds
get
worse
over
than
that? Like, how do you, are you gonna trust people?
I mean, I do.
Oh, okay.
Some,
Well, because
he's
it's
still here.
right. Well,
No,
it's
it's not the same. Put your hand up.
also let me explain because it's not Good Will Hunting if you've seen the movie.
I love
Yeah.
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, it's not
Frickin' love it.
that because it honestly better way to describe it is just not even trust issues, but just okay. Let me find some healthy boundaries for myself in terms of setting the expectations for whatever relationships are going to happen, you know. And it's definitely not anything that you've done where I'm like, Gina's boring. I'm not going to hang out with Gina next semester. Like that's the furthest thing from the
True.
truth, you know. Like it's not like, oh, Gina's just sucks. I'm sick of this girl. Get rid of her. You know, it's genuinely just.
Okay.
I mean, until you've experienced somebody who's willing to put in the time and the effort into a relationship, which I mean I have with a couple of guy friends who have known since high school, known
Yeah.
since whenever, and like that's fine. But especially with just semester friends being a cultural thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, you get through the class and no, like
You're talking out of the side of your mouth.
I'm sorry.
No, it just made me crack up. So.
You're good. You're
Continue,
good. That's how I
continue.
normally talk.
I know,
sometimes.
it's just funny. I
It's
noticed.
hilarious, right?
You also look up. You're like,
Yes, I do.
yeah, me too. Okay, anyways.
It's
I know
fine.
You, okay.
But
With your
yeah.
gesticulations.
I mean, having friends for a season doesn't devalue the friendship, and I think this might be where our genuine misunderstanding lies. Because having friends for a season doesn't mean that you threw the friend away. It means that you're going in different directions. And while yes, technology and a lot of things make sustaining that relationship easier, there are a lot of things that make it difficult, such as just life.
Yeah.
And
No,
having different jobs and different
I
relationships.
understand
and-
that, but like, if you wanted to, you can still. Like,
Right.
you always have time for them.
Well, it's like, I don't know, I'm a nerd and I love games, like
Right on.
video games, all that. So it's like, I view this as hype whenever a new game comes out. It's like, if you're like overhyped for a game compared to if you like don't
Underwhelmed.
pay any attention to it, like as if it doesn't matter. Like if it comes out and you're overhyped and it's just average, you're going to think it's
Disappointing.
like, yeah, it's so bad. But if you didn't care about it at all, and it's like just a decent game, like same level, you're going to think, oh, hey, that's pretty good.
Okay, wait, then what did you think about our relationship?
As in what?
Is this a game? No,
yeah, you're right. It's just
No,
a game.
like I'm just
Were
viewing
you
that.
underwhelmed?
Is he a player? No, he's not
Yeah.
a player. It's
No.
fine. Tristan
I
doesn't
wasn't-
strike me as a player.
No, I've been in like,
Chuckles.
I think, okay, so I would consider like 2 or 3 other relationships growing up. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And those weren't really even,
Yeah.
compared to a lot of people, like nothing.
Got you.
Like 5 months was the max in one of those.
Yeah, we're gonna break up after 6, so I can be the
Play the long game.
Yeah.
But no, like I think if you like with this situation, you know, it's like if you're telling them, "Oh yeah, I'll be there," then whenever you aren't, because life does take you separate directions and things become very difficult to try and keep in contact and like hang out and do whatever, you know. It's like, well, then it kind of makes you feel worse than if you didn't make those promises and like,
Yeah.
and it kind of helps the other person to not feel as bad about it.
Well, I don't make promises. I just say if you're there for me, I'll be there for you.
Yeah.
Like that's literally it. That's what it comes down to.
But like that's why I get where he was coming from with this. Like he didn't want to say, "Oh yeah, we'll stay friends for sure," because he didn't know.
But I don't see. Hold on, wait. I just don't understand why he mentioned it at all. Because I was just like, oh, I'm trying to get like the gang together, and you were like, we're not a gang, and I was like, oh, first of all, that was a colloquial term. We're not Scooby Doo over here, but all right. And then you were just
That's
like,
what I said.
and then yes, and then you were like, then that's where it came from, and I was like, okay, I just wanted to hang out, and you're like, he was the one who was like, we're not gonna be friends, and I was like, oh, so that's
I
why.
don't know. Would it hurt you even more if I told you that it's not rehearsed, but I've said that exact thing before?
Yeah, no, I can totally tell.
Because it
You made
genuinely
no eye contact. You were just looking straight ahead, and you just said this, and I was like, the fuck?
Well, because I have this problem where I think I'm funny, and people don't appreciate it, and so
There's
I seriously have a series of running jokes and bits in my head that I think I'll tell this person today. Yeah, and not even just today, but just in general. Man, I can't wait to tell this to somebody because I think it'll be
Cute.
funny. Yeah, it's hilarious,
That's
right?
really cute.
Mm-hmm. And so, again, there's some genuine feeling behind it because you don't just joke about something and like it's completely left field, Like there's some thought to it, but I guarantee you, especially when I said the Scooby-Doo thing, it's literally just play on the words.
Yeah, that was not rehearsed, hopefully, because I don't think everybody's like, let's get the gang together. Because
Zoinks like, hey, Scoob.
I've been waiting for this for 8 years.
This moment to make a Scooby-Doo reference.
But yeah, I don't know. That's my bottom line. Is like,
Yeah, it's a good bottom line.
because I think everybody needs somebody, and if I can be that somebody, then like, it's fine with me.
Well, and what I genuinely appreciated about the text was that you sent it because a lot of people wouldn't. In fact, nobody has.
Mi corazón.
Mi corazón. But no, and that's not even like, oh, my friends were garbage. But you genuinely are a different person than most
Yes.
people.
That's
Nice.
nice.
You're a different person than a lot of people,
Tried.
and that you play the long game, and that you
Y'all are
think
showering me.
a lot about the relationships that you have because
I
you
do.
want to have them, and that's incredibly important. I wish I would get not more texts just completely blowing me apart, but but
I can do it for you if you need to.
honestly, you can make good money doing that. Just like motivational texts in the
Oh
morning,
my
sending to
gosh,
people.
that'd
You
be
could do it.
cute.
Maybe.
I should honestly set up that. Guys, find me at no, I'm kidding.
At Jeanna Ayers on Venmo.
No.
Send her your number and she'll send you a motivational text.
I would. I don't know. I think life is. I've told y'all about this before. That I think life's really hard and difficult. And like, if I can make it easier for somebody, like, even if I'm just complimenting somebody in the elevator, like, it makes my day. So I'm like, it's hard. It's hard, guys. I don't know. And I'm glad that like I could do that for you, and like I didn't like give up on you because I wasn't going to. I thought about it, and I always think about that, and I'm like, should I just give up? And then it's like, no. So like,
Yeah.
because after that, I don't know. I was like, does everybody feel this way about me? Does you literally made me go through like a crisis, legit. Yeah, I was like, does everybody feel this way about me? Is everybody just gonna leave me? Should I not even try? And then I was like, that's stupid. Like, there's more if you try and not get anything out of it because you still get something out of it.
Right. Better to have loved and lost
Yeah.
than not to have loved at all.
Yeah, like you get like the good memories with that person. You learn how to handle that situation. Like, yeah, I was like, it's fine. If he doesn't want to be my friend, it sucks. But like, I can't make, as Kendra says, I can't make somebody like want to talk to me or like be my friend. So yeah, I'm glad that you responded back because I was like, yes, cool. So yeah, I don't know.
I have a feeling I could have gotten 2 or 3 more flame texts if you drew it out, but
I'm not. I don't.
you
I
held
don't
it.
get angry.
Oh.
I'm not. Have you ever seen me angry? No. Kendra, have you?
oh, she gone.
Have
Oh,
you
she
ever
back.
seen me angry?
Yeah.
How many times?
Well, you're not like a open angry.
Yeah, I
You're
don't.
like an internal anger.
Yeah, because I always try to understand people's point of views, standpoint theory.
Oh,
So
got him.
so I have a very mild temperament. I used to be very fiery. I used to flame people, but like I used to like pick them apart because people tell me things and I'd be like, well, you like that kind of like manipulation. So like I don't do that anymore. No, you. Yeah, I made people cry back in middle school. Oh my god, like people used to come at me. Shout out to those people. Sorry, I made you cry in class, and I never got in trouble either. And I was
Yeah.
like, ugh. And then I learned I was like, you're being a dumbass, Jeanna. You know,
Yeah.
take people's feelings into consideration and be really empathetic, and that's what I try to be. So yeah, I understood where you were coming from,
Yeah.
and I'm glad we're still friends. So. And I get to come on your awesome podcast. Thank you for having me, by the way.
Yeah, thanks all of y'all for coming on.
Yeah,
It's so cool.
that's good. Actually, this is fun. We should discuss more topics.
You're welcome. What do you want to talk about?
Very, really good.
We
Curtis
should
Connor.
We should come back.
You should come back. You should
Yeah,
come
we
back.
Should come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be good.
It's getting a little late now.
It is getting.
but
I'm very famished and going.
famished and hungry. Okay.
I also really have to pee. Thanks, viewers at home, listeners at home.
Wow.
Any closing thoughts from anybody? Any words of wisdom for the peeps listening?
You got anything? You look like you had to say something, babe. No, I just think communication and people are key. It's my
Yeah.
closing thoughts. I think that's like the takeaway. Like, be more open, but not too open. What do you think?
Balance.
Yes,
Yeah.
balance. Find a balance.
I've got nothing to
Oh, okay. I thought you did.
I don't feel I'm at liberty to say anything. I'm still learning, so.
Yeah, well, we all are. I mean,
Yeah, definitely. I won't probably. I'm never gonna know
yeah,
everything. So.
like you never stop. Well,
I
you
might.
shouldn't stop.
Maybe I'll be
learning.
like. Maybe I'll feel like Hitler did. Oh, did I make a Hitler
Okay,
joke
then.
in the future?
You know what?
Bam, bam.
I think I should make a Hitler joke.
Okay, go.
I'm one artwork away from becoming Hitler.
Oh, that's good.
I got you. Yeah, Hitler was an artist.
He was. Who got downtrodden and
Poor Hitler.
picked the dark path.
Yeah.
Don't go to Austria, folks.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway lesson.
Don't go to
Don't go to
Austria.
Some poor kid's gonna be listening at this from Vienna and be like,
What are you saying? They're like, we're over that.
all right.
All jokes
Thank you for having us, though.
Yes, thanks so much for y'all for coming on.
It was a
Hope
lot
y'all
of fun. I
had a
want
good time.
sushi now.
Yeah, definitely.
Heck
I
yeah.
had a great time. Yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, bye everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.